Nerd Man, yeah. About by making Cavill this guy again. Hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and today I'm talking with the J-Man himself. And we're talking Superman 1 and 2 and a little bit of Man of Steel as well. So welcome to the channel, first of all. Do you want to just, I will kind of introduce you a bit, but I don't know if you want to just say hello.
Yeah, I'm a nerd big time since a little kid. I've got pictures of me with a Superman cake. I don't know how old I was in that picture. It's like 5 or 6 or something. And love Superman and all comics and, Batman, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, Hulk, all that stuff. So, and yeah, just been reading comics my whole life, watching the movies, talking about it. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to, it's for you to be here as well. Off with 2000, and it's about films like I unabashedly love, right? And just I'm not trying to convince anybody to love them also, but I just want to talk to somebody who unabashedly loves the film as well. Usually I try and stay away from anything negative on this, but it was too enticing an opportunity to talk to somebody. I don't know if you know it yet. I don't know if I've told you yet. Superman is also my favorite superhero. It's easy. He's the greatest superhero, right, as far as I'm concerned, and it's that simple. And I don't even think it's like necessarily even that close. Now, Wonder Woman and Batman are my second and respectively. The DC Trinity are the goat. They're the goats. Like they basically, for me, they're the archetypes of every single hero comes from them, right?
Yep.
So that's pretty much why. Now I've kind of lost my thing. I forgot to put my, I was saying, I hope I haven't forgotten anything. I forgot to put on Twitter. That's what I forgot to do. Yeah, as I was saying, usually I do stay away from the negative stuff with this, but it was too enticing because I saw you on MSK's stream the other day, and you did something brilliant, my friend. You were able to explain something that I've been trying to explain for the longest time about Zack Snyder's Superman, and why you don't think, well, we'll go into that conversation later, but and I just saw that and I was like, I've got to get this guy on my show to talk about Superman.
I don't even remember what I said. I don't even remember what because I've been talking about this subject forever. Everybody on my stream always talks about Snyder Cut and this, and they know that I'm not the biggest fan, and they always want to try to like fight me on it and convince me, but it's like it's not happening.
Yeah, it's happening, dude. So yeah, that was it. I was just like, oh, I really like this guy. I've checked out your channel. He's got a great channel, by the way, guys. Talks a lot of comic books, like early comic books, right? And then you do like in between that, like kind of film and comic book movie stuff as well, right? Conversations.
Yeah, anything like that. I'm reading current comics. Like I'm caught up to the recent Superman, Batman, action, Wonder Woman. Like I've literally just read Batman Detective Comics today, the one that just came out. So it's like comics and movies. I haven't watched Loki yet, but I will watch Loki. So whatever's current, I haven't watched it yet, but I will watch it.
Yeah, it's quite fun. How big an MCU fan are you? Just out of curiosity.
I'm a fan of everything. I own every single thing that has like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. If their names are on it, I own it, and pretty much every other character. Like I've got the Batman movie serials. I own Man of Steel. I own Batman versus Superman. I will buy Zack Snyder's way too long Justice League. Like,
let me ask: have you then watched all the George Reeves series?
I have all the George Reeves series, and I've seen a few of the episodes here and there. I have not actually sat down and actually watched the entire thing. My friend
Yeah,
loves it. He thinks it's genius, and George Reeves is awesome. And I've got the entire thing on DVD. I just haven't watched it all through yet because there's like so many things to go. There's all the cartoons. I have every
yeah,
Super Friends episode and all that, and the Ruby Spears Superman, and like it's endless. Like this entire whole upper two shelves is just Superman related only, and I've got an
yeah. I
entire
want.
just Batman shelf.
As soon as I put this on Twitter, I'm gonna check out some of your Superman stuff. Right here. Give me 1 second. You can
Mhm.
continue. Let me ask you just so that we know when did you first get into comics, and was Superman your introduction into comics?
So basically, as a little kid, I watched my favorites were the Lou Ferrigno Hulk TV show, the Linda Carter Wonder Woman, the Adam West Batman TV series.
You are
Um,
speaking my language right now. All right,
yeah,
carry
all
on.
of that. So I started with that. And the cartoon Super Friends, the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon. I've met the voice actor who just recently passed away, Paul Souls. I met him just a few years ago, got a photo with him. He's a great guy. So all this kind of stuff when I was a little kid. I have pictures of me as a little kid with the Superman. I had a big Superman stuffed toy and a big Spider-Man one. I had a big Spider-Man chair. I had Batman toys. I had all the Mego dolls. So all this stuff is my whole life. I've got the superpowers. I even have like some in the packaging. I've got like, Superman without punched, right? Like, and I had this toy as a kid. I'd fly around with it. I had Wonder Woman. The Wonder Woman superpowers is behind me over there. I've got Linda Carter's autograph. So this is where I started. And then he started getting into comics.
No way! You've got Linda Carter's autograph,
I've got Linda Carter's autograph.
dude.
Um,
That is
a whole,
that I'm seriously jealous of. That I'm
I've got a lot of
seriously.
people's.
I fucking love Linda Carter, dude.
Oh my god, I love her. I love her.
I think she is
Yeah,
so good as Wonder Woman. Because I'll be honest, I didn't. I looking. I loved the first episode of that show, the Linda Carter. The first episode of Linda Carter Wonder Woman is possibly more comic book accurate
yeah,
than the 2017 film. So I fucking love that, and
yeah. It's great.
I love when you have these really cool different versions that you can go to of like the same story, which is like essentially what comic books does, right? It's like it modernizes a story for like our times or our kind of thing. But I have to say, like the actual show itself, once it got past the first episode, I wasn't necessarily like the biggest fan. It wasn't easy for me to watch the rest of the show. But the one constant was that Linda Carter just took it so seriously. But amongst all the goofy stuff, she was
Yeah,
just a great Wonder Woman. Like she took it seriously. You always believed that she believed in like the
right.
message and whatever of Wonder Woman. So in that sense, it really worked for me. Uh
Yeah, and you've hit upon the key, the key to all of it, which is if the main actor believes in it and lives that role and is that character personified like on a screen, that to me transcends almost the storyline, which is why I really like Superman 3 and even Superman 4 with Christopher Reeve, because when I'm a kid, I'm watching him and he's the one that I love. And as long as he's in it, just like Linda Carter, I watched the entire series and I'm watching it as a kid, right? So I'm not thinking, I'm
mhm.
not analyzing the show thinking this is weird or whatever. I'm just watching him like Linda Carter's great, and I literally thought if I spun around, I could get powers. And I'm like, it doesn't work. I tried it.
Yeah,
And then,
and you remember, and I remember that because I wasn't a big fan of Wonder Woman when I was a kid. I think the 2009 animated film made me a fan of Wonder Woman, and then I was like completely on the train. I was always like hitting up like Warner Brothers as much as I could, being like, make that bloody Wonder Woman film. Um, and yeah, so but you're right. I remember watching it like as a kid, and absolutely, I would stop and I would watch the show, right? It wouldn't be like, oh, it's Wonder Woman, I'm not watching it. It was like I would stop, I'd watch the show. Linda Carter, always enjoyed it, with the Bionic Woman and
I've got that
Incredible
too.
Hulk,
I've got all that.
all of that stuff. That was great. That was
Yeah.
always so fun to watch. So it worked for me as a kid. Definitely, it worked for me as a kid. I just mean watching it back as an adult. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
it's a little bit tough, but
well,
love
I
Linda
mean,
Carter. But she
well,
obviously did something right for me to like love it as a kid, right? Sorry, go on.
yeah, no, I was gonna say, I mean, and I've got $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman. I have all that stuff. I had about 4,000 DVDs and Blu-rays, and I sold about 1,000, and then I put another 1,000 away. And a large majority of those are superhero geek related. Like you can see Swamp Thing back here, and I've got like Hercules, all the Hercules stuff. Xena, Zorro, Lone
All right,
Ranger, like
all right.
Doc Savage.
Let's see your top three proudest things you have of Superman, and maybe like
Gosh,
the top three coolest things you have there before we
I
get
mean,
into this
for
conversation.
Superman, I've got this. This was a Christopher Reeve. So I've got Christopher Reeve. I've got Superman, Zod, and Lex Luthor. And these are all
Oh,
really,
no way. Have you got let me see the Lex Luthor one if you've got it
yeah,
there.
Lex Luthor. Yep, I've got it all here. Uh,
Oh, nice.
you want to see the
Nice.
glare there,
Okay.
and then Zod. I've got Zod as well. And then this is a really neat thing. This is Superman 1, the movie, on DVD, and they did these special editions where you can open it up, and it has the program, from the theater, like what you would have seen in the theater. It has the poster folded up. Posters used to be folded up prior to 1984. I've got like a film cell.
Wow.
There's like all this promotional material and like all of the. Remember when you used to go and there's lobby cards? I don't know if it was kind of before our time, but they used to have lobby cards in the theater. So it's got lobby cards and all that stuff. So this is a really. I don't even know where you can even get this. And the DVD is also in there. Now I've got it
Wow.
on 4K, but
That's that's serious
what else?
collectible. All you
I
need
like
is Superman 1, the actual comic. And then,
yeah.
don't
Oh
really
gosh,
have that
Action
much.
Comics
Yeah,
#1. No, I've got
yeah, actual comic.
I do have this. I have Man of Steel number. This is the miniseries after Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Oh, wow.
And I
Wow.
do have all of Crisis on Infinite Earths in individual issues.
Wow.
And I think everybody.
I mean, are they worth much? That particular one? No. Okay.
I don't think so. Everyone's got these, right? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I
Everyone.
had dude. I'll tell you what, man. My mother, because I was a little bit of a naughty child sometimes, and I ended up going away for like I wasn't running away. Unless like I don't think it was like I guess technically you might call it that, but I was always coming back. But I went like with my friends to a stupid place which I hate now called Butlins, right?
Okay.
They convinced me to go to Butlins, which is just outside of London. And we went there for a week to like chat up girls, right? When I was like 13 or something. We were actually fairly successful, but which is a good thing. But it was like this little holiday camp and whatever. So we went there, and they knew how to get in free. It was a very stupid teenage thing to do. And I had this box of comics and the original X-Men trading cards. It was like my favorite thing in the world, literally my favorite thing in the world. And when I ran away that week, I came back, I think about a week and a half later. I hadn't talked to my mother because it was one of those things. I would have phoned her, but I knew how angry she would be, right? Like
Right.
after the second day, I'm petrified because I was only
Oh
supposed
my
to be
god.
away for like, I don't know, a day or something like that, which is bad enough. But like,
Right.
but I just knew. I was just like, she's gonna be so mad and what am I supposed to say I'm doing, and etc., etc. I was a very bright kid, uh, and so I come back after a week and a half, and this thing had gone, and I thought she was
Oh man.
joking at first. I really thought she was joking at first. She'd thrown the whole thing out, and I was like, there were comics in there worth a lot of money. I think I had. Sometimes I think I'm maybe imagining things like it's become this mystical box in my head now.
Right,
But
right.
I'm pretty sure I at least had the was it the first thing of Wolverine? Because Wolverine was in Hulk, right? He first
Right.
appeared in the Hulk.
181, I believe. Yeah, I think it was
Maybe
181
that
or something like.
maybe I'm making that up in my mind. Maybe I had just had like a collection that had that in, but I certainly had that story in my comic collection. And
There's this famous cover where he's going like that.
yeah, because
That was the mini series.
part of that box was given to me by my brother's friend who owned a lot of comics, and he gave me like a pile first. So anyway, I know I had some really, if not like if not like very like those kind of comics, like very old. I
Right.
had like some editions of comics that were just that by now I think would have been worth a little bit. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, I
um,
mean, if we're gonna go through everything, like it'd be impossible. I've got like the first appearance. I've got the first Dark Phoenix, the first Emma Frost, the first Kitty Pryde, the first. I got the first Hawkeye appearance, which is really old, really, really, really old.
wow, is that
It's
so?
like,
That must be worth something. Now the Avengers has come out.
I mean, basically the copy that I have is torn to hell and back, so it's probably really it's probably not worth that much. But if it was a good version copy, then it'd be great. And I had the first Punisher as a kid, but I ripped the cover off and put it on my wall. Like I didn't think about what would be worth something, right? And I don't distinguish between Marvel and DC. Like I love everything.
Yeah,
Um, even like the Phantom and Flash Gordon and
yeah.
like Zorro and all of these. I love all of this kind of stuff. So I don't get into the MCU versus the DCEU or
It's really,
whatever.
yeah, no, I know what you mean. But it's like, it's really upsetting to me because, losing that box, because I feel like it was in some ways my memories. I think like
Right.
now, like there's parts of my childhood I've forgotten. And if I had that box, just in virtue of reading the comic, I'd be able to be transported back a little bit to that time, right? Like
Yeah.
you'd have slivers of the first moment from the aroma of the book, or just the dude. Anyway, hopefully somebody got that box, because it would be really fucking horrible if nobody just got that box. I always thought like hopefully at least somebody did get it. It also had like, gosh, I love my mother, rest her soul. Because I was going to say something nasty about her just then. Because every time,
Superman
every
wouldn't do
time,
it.
every
Superman would
time,
not say it.
yeah, no. Every time I think about it, it's just I'm taken back to that point where she said it to me. I was like, "Come on, I would rather you do anything, like fuck, drown me for the whole year. Do anything, make me, do homework, not watch TV or something like that." But what did it have in it? It had all my like I'd written a book of like my own comic
Oh,
characters, like
cool.
my own comic character universe as well, and that was thrown out in that.
I think yeah, that's great. I think a lot of people, even I did that as well. And I actually published a book of short stories with one of my own characters. It's on Amazon. You can actually get it on Amazon. But yeah, and it's like I love creating characters and doing stuff with them and like just having a little universe for yourself. It's so cool. I think I'm not hearing you. Oh,
Can you
there
hear
you
me
go.
now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
I
sensitive.
put I put up Shadow Vessel's comment here because I think this is fun. I used to spin all the time, then rip off my shirt. Wonder Woman and Hulk were the big heroes on TV. That Bill Bixby Hulk, man. Dude, maybe I have to do one episode. Oh wow. I
Superman
used to have
versus the
this
Hulk.
debate. I used to have this debate a lot when I was younger. I've kind of changed. I've kind of changed my opinion on it, but I was absolutely sure back in the day the Hulk had Superman's number because I was just like, he just gets stronger the angrier he gets.
Yep.
Superman isn't going to do anything, right? He's like, okay, he keeps on beating on him. He keeps on beating on him. The laser eyes, whatever. You know, I didn't take into account Superman's speed though. That's
Yeah,
my only
you can throw
problem.
him. You can throw him into the sun. You can throw him into the sun, and it's like
Yeah,
that's it. Like it's
but
a Superman beats everybody, no matter what. Yes, even Batman, he beats everybody. Superman can beat everybody.
Wonder Woman, I think could give him a run for his money with her
Perhaps,
weapons, with her magical weapons. She should be. I was pissed at the Justice League because of that. Like the way they had Superman just take out. I, you're right. Modern day Superman takes out anyone. But
yeah,
Superman, before like New 52, I think the Justice League and him were about a bit on the same level. They've gone into this new world where everyone has the perception Superman is just like this OP, can do anything, kind of lacks any kind of limitations kind of character. And you see that with like the boys and with Omni-Man and all of these
yeah,
characters that are supposed to be after him that like, oh, he can destroy anyone. And it's very, I find that the least interesting version of those characters. I like it when Superman's a little bit more on the Justice League's level, but he's still above them, right? And then so that they can have a good fight, right? Like that's what we want to see in comic book characters. We want to see different abilities and powers and whatever being able to go up against each other. It's like now he's almost as fast as the Flash in
right.
this Justice League film. It's like, come on, dude. I don't
My
know how you feel about that.
my interpretation is that Superman is a lot more powerful than any of us have really seen, except for when he went up to, like, let's say against a Doomsday where they literally just, die, kill it, like beat each other to death. And I think Superman, his entire life, he's had to hold back his strength. Like, if you get mad and slam the phone or slam the door, you slam a door. If he slams the door, the whole house topples, right? So he's literally, his entire childhood has been suppressing every action. He doesn't just pick up a can of pop, like he'll crush it. He's like, oh, I gotta be careful. So
Yeah,
I think that he's always being
but
trained
so
to
does
help
Wonder
back.
Woman. So does Wonder Woman, right? I mean, so
Right.
does Martian Manhunter, right? Like, once they're on Earth, they have to do that very same thing. So I don't buy that as an excuse that Superman can just beat the crap out of all of the Justice League, simultaneously when fighting them. I mean, this guy, regularly is, thwarted by like just a billionaire genius, right? So
Yeah.
it's a human essentially. So I look, I obviously think Superman is the most powerful, but like again, it's when you have a Justice League film, I'm like, what is the more visually interesting thing to do? What is the more entertaining thing to do? Have Superman just beat the crap out of everyone easily, or have there be like some back and forth?
Yeah, like you're talking about when he was resurrected and they all
Yeah,
kind of converge on him. Yeah, and that was the depowered Superman too, according to I guess the reasoning in the movie, though that's never really said in the movie. But the depowered Superman could beat up the Justice League. I think in that story they're trying to say this is the reason why Steppenwolf attacks at this point because
yeah,
there's no Superman around. He could have attacked 35 years before Superman showed up, but there's that too. So I mean, it is what
yeah.
it is. This is that interpretation of how that story would play out. Uh,
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
this segues in. We haven't even started, guys. Basically, we've just been like, but this is a good segue into. We're going to start off with Man of Steel and just talk about our feelings about Man of Steel. So I wanted to go into like take this like, and also just Zack Snyder's universe a little bit, because I'm kind of curious about your opinions on that. But I wanted to go into, first of all, just what, before Man of Steel came out, what were you thinking about the film? What had you seen of it, like media wise? You know, just take me back to that. Take me back to like maybe a year or so before,
Right.
when you first heard about the project or when the trailer first dropped. Take me back to that moment, please.
I was pretty excited in the sense that I was when I saw the promo stuff for Superman Returns, I was very disappointed. I thought the costume looked really awful. I didn't like the muted colors. I liked Brandon Routh's face and whatever. And then I saw that movie and I felt very underwhelmed. It did not feel like it was Superman. He was stalking Lois Lane and he was just being weird. Why would he leave Earth like to check if his father's alive, like or the planet's alive? It was very silly. So I didn't like that movie. So this one I started to get a little bit more high hopes for because I actually love Watchmen. I actually love 300. And yes, I really like Sucker Punch as well. And I know that's one that people don't like, but I like Sucker Punch. And Dawn of the Dead, the remake, wasn't too bad for a remake. In fact, it's quite a good zombie movie in its own right. So Zack Snyder, right? Yeah, Zack Snyder, Superman, new effects. Henry Cavill looks good. He looks very imposing. He had the big red cape. It's like I would have liked to have seen a little bit of the more brighter colors. And I would have liked to have seen either the red belt or the trunks. I know the trunks aren't always as popular, but without the trunks, it does seem weird to me. I keep staring in that area because it's drawing attention to that because the trunks aren't there and I'm not used to seeing.
Anyway, I know what you mean. You're right. You were staring at Cavill's junk, like a lot.
Yeah, because I'm like, why? There should be some red there. But I like having at least the red belt where it at least separates the blue, so it doesn't look like a full just blue costume. So I was very excited.
At least they didn't go full Martian Man. Sorry. Sorry, at least they didn't go full Dr. Manhattan with that.
Oh my gosh. I was shocked they did that.
I'm going to stop you just to ask one question by this. He wanted to know, not changing the subject, just curious. Yeah. Has J-Man ever read DC Vertigo's Fables? He's just curious.
The last Vertigo thing, it was called Flinch. I was reading Flinch. That was a long time ago, so I haven't gone back to any Vertigo stuff. But I've heard of Fables, but I never read any of it.
Oh, okay. All right. I haven't either. I need to read it. He keeps asking me about that. But so yeah, let's continue. So you kind of seen the promo stuff. You noticed he hadn't got the trunks, but generally you were kind of enthusiastic because
for sure
you like Zack Snyder, and I completely agree. I was blown away by Watchmen. I watched it in the cinemas. And quite honestly, I'm ashamed to say this as a comic book geek because I was straight up into like the baby stuff in comics when I was early on reading. I mean, I think the most adult thing I read was like Spawn. I was straight up.
Okay, yep.
Because I loved the X-Men animated series, so I was into the X-Men books. The X-Men books around there were excellent. I mean, the Generation X, the first run of Generation X, fucking awesome. Like for me, one of the best graphic novels. Even to the day, I can pick it up and read it. And then I was into Batman. I was a lot into like some Superman. I hadn't quite fallen in love with Superman until after. I'll get into how I got into Superman before we do our Superman 1 and 2 discussion. But yeah, so but I'd never heard of Watchmen. Literally had not heard of Watchmen when I walked into the cinema. That was my first ever, introduction to these characters. I was just on a random thing, like, oh, I saw the trailer, looked a bit interesting, thought it was just going to be like some superhero story from the trailer. Sat down and watched it, and I was like, this is the fucking film I've ever seen. This is literally the great. I was like, it's Fight Club, then this, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
those two were like very closely linked in my head. So I fucking loved that. And so like you, when I heard that Zack Snyder was going to do Man of Steel, I was just, or Superman. By then,
Yeah.
I did absolutely love Superman, and Superman was my favorite hero. I thought, fuck me, this is going to be
Yeah, and I've got all the
incredible.
original Watchmen comics. I've got the original Watchmen comics, like individual comics.
Mm.
So I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
love
read
Watchmen.
Watchmen after. Yeah. Oh, you've got the original Watchmen comics. So when you
Yeah,
watched it, because I know a lot of people who'd read the comic first, right, didn't like the Watchmen. But
I'm not one of them.
yeah, but I read it after, and I'm like, I think he captured it pretty damn well, to be honest. Maybe the message is a little bit more, in Zack Snyder style nihilistic, but I don't mind because he captured the spirit of the characters. That's the
I think he
thing.
captured it
The core
brilliantly,
of
and
the
he fixed.
characters. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. He fixed the ending too, because I always thought when I read that when it came out, the giant squid was a little bit weird. I thought this isn't what they call sticking the landing. Like I just thought like this was kind of weird, right? Like what's this giant squid thing? And then having it be Manhattan. Hey, Truth, how's it going? Um, he had Manhattan do it, and I thought, whoa, this is kind of genius because Manhattan was so trusted by the people and especially America that turning him into a villain or making it seem as though he's the villain or whatever is really smart because people know that his capabilities. Where I feel the giant squid people could eventually not care that much about it. You know what I mean? And plus, in the
Right,
movie, he destroyed
exactly.
more things, not just New York or whatever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with that. That squid ending, for me, I like it, but
Yeah,
like I don't know that it would have worked for the movie. And for him, for that to be the one thing he changed, I thought, oh my god, this guy's instincts are really good. So he sticks painstakingly to the source material, but when it doesn't work, he changes it.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I could see here we've already got some Man of Steel stands. Uh, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel is a masterpiece.
Yeah, Truth
I,
loves
you
that.
know,
He loves it.
dude, this is the thing. I get it because this kind of segues into like what we're talking about. Like, I get it that you like Man of Steel, and I even kind of get some of the reasons. And please, the Truth 31, let me know exactly what your reasons are for liking Man of Steel. But to say it's a masterpiece is just going too far. I mean, there's so many basic problems with that movie that for me to say it's a masterpiece is just like it's not even as good as Batman Begins, and Batman Begins isn't a masterpiece, right? Like,
Yeah, I like
am I
Batman
going
Begins a lot.
crazy? I like Batman Begins a lot as well. I think it's a near masterpiece,
It's pretty
Batman
good.
Begins.
Yeah,
But I still don't think it's quite up there to masterpiece level. And that's way better than Man of Steel. It executes what it's going for much, much better than Man of Steel. And we'll go into that a little bit.
mm-hmm.
So I'm always curious as to, is it because so many people have shit on the movie that they've gone to the other extreme of like because the reason I'm asking you about your original perception of the movie is because I had such a difficult time with this movie when I first saw it and trying to process my feelings about Man of Steel when I first saw it as a huge Superman fan, as a huge fan of like all of it, like Christopher Reeves, the comics, even darker versions of Superman, like Superman Earth One.
Yeah.
A big fan of the animated stuff with Superman. I really couldn't put my finger on it at the time. I wanted to love it so much. I don't think I've ever wanted to love a film so much and wanted everyone else to love the film so much. And then just been deflated. And I'll go into why, but I want to know what just if you could take me through that process. So once you'd seen the trailer, what was your thinking?
Well, I was still really excited. I mean, it's to a point where I love these characters, all superhero characters, and Superman's my favorite. I'm at the point where I'm looking for positives all the time. Like, it would take a lot for me to not like a Superman thing or a Batman thing or even a Wonder Woman thing. For sure, those three. So I'm like, when I saw this, I don't know if we want to get into my thoughts after I'd seen the movie, or do you want to wait on that?
I want to wait on that because we're going to watch the trailer together.
So let's watch the trailer.
Oh, you want to watch the trailer first?
Yeah,
okay,
let's do it. Because I was jacked. I was pumped to see this movie. So
this trailer me up so fucking hard. My nipples were just like So this is the trailer, the first thing that we saw, and I still think it's one of the greatest trailers of all time.
You will give the people an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But in time, they will join you in the sun. In time, you will help them accomplish wonders.
And then, of course, there was Jonathan Kent version of that as well, which was live. We might play that a little bit later. But so, what was your first thing when you saw like this kind of media for the film?
Like, this all looked really good to me. Sounded really nice. He's going to inspire hope, and then it got me pumped up to see this because I knew it was going to be visually amazing. I knew it was going to have good effects. You start to realize, okay, there's going to be some good fights. It's not going to be like Superman Returns where it's a little bit boring. And I thought, well, it looks like they're going to get the hope angle. They're going to get Superman is like a hero who inspires us, and we cheer for him, and he's going to save the world, and all of that. And they're saying all of this in this trailer. They're literally saying it's like you will inspire them, and it doesn't deliver on any of those promises that they're saying in that trailer. The trailer was made by someone who knows what Superman is, but didn't really realize that in this movie, that is not what they're going to give you. They're not going to give you that Superman. That trailer is relying on the fact that you and I already have a preconceived notion of what Superman is and what we're expecting to see. But we don't see any of that. That's where we get into this problem. And I know we'll get to it, but that's
you're already kind of you've jumped there a bit, but that's absolutely great. So and for me, I was just pumped by it. I thought this was an incredible trailer. I'm not so precious with superheroes. All I ask is that you get the core of them right. I'm not, like certain people will be like, oh, Catwoman from Batman Returns. That isn't Catwoman because Catwoman, with the supernatural stuff. I'm like, dude, that's fucking Catwoman, all right? I don't care about the supernatural elements that she had in 9 Lives. In fact, I think it improved the character a little bit. It was cool, right? It was Catwoman because she was a femme fatale. Who teased Batman, who was kind of like villainous, but like also anti-hero. That's fucking Catwoman, all right? I don't care if she had like somewhat questionably may have had superpowers, which was always in question anyway. So I am not precious at all about interpretation. I like the Penguin as well. I still like the Penguin till today
I love Penguin.
from Batman Returns.
Yeah.
So you can go down the line with me, like with different versions of characters, and we'll get into Lex Luthor a bit later because I think we might have a disagreement on that. I'm not sure.
We might.
I'm not sure. We'll see if we have a disagreement. But so I didn't mind this concept of Superman in the real world at all. And I definitely didn't mind the idea that, hey, if Superman was in the real world, people wouldn't just be like straight away, hey, look at this guy. He's like a great guy. They'd be fucking scared as shit of what this guy can do. So I love that concept. And after seeing Batman Begins, which again is one of my favorite fucking things of all time, and I was like, they're doing that treatment with Superman. That's an incredible idea, right? To do that treatment, because what I loved about Batman Begins was what it seemed to do was it like I hate this whole realism and it's gritty argument. Yeah. For me, what it did that was so impressive was it psychologically fleshed out what were more two-dimensional characters in those Batman 89 movies. I loved them, but everyone was more two-dimensional. So Alfred didn't really have that much of a character, you know.
Right.
Everything around those characters, they were fantastic, they were fun, they were funny, but what the Batman Begins seemed to psychologically flesh them out so that you were like, oh, maybe that is how Bruce Wayne would be in real life. That is how Alfred would work in real life, right? In a world that's, you know, at least a close approximation of ours. And then it did this thing where it was meta at the same time as putting Batman in reality. It was kind of meta analyzing what Batman means to us as well as an audience. So I love those bits where like Ra's al Ghul was like saying, you know, and he asked him like, what will I become, you know, after, what is the thing he says? Sorry, I should have put up this quote.
I've seen Batman Begins like 4 or 5 times. I don't remember the exact, but yeah.
Okay. So I'm just trying to think. He says that, you know, if you're in prison, you're just on a desperate scramble for to fight people, you can be crushed, you can be killed. But if you become something more than just a man, if you become something different, then what do you become? You become a legend, Mr. Wayne. And that's talking straight to the audience and what we think Batman is, right? So it's got that double kind of meaning. And I was like, if they do that with Superman, I'm going to be in tears with a hard on at the same fucking time in the theater. You know, if they managed to capture that, right? Like what Superman means to us, you know, while actually like talking, you know, about it in reality, I was just I don't know what I was going to do. I don't think I would have been able to. Actually, it's lucky that this movie wasn't so good because I probably would have had a heart attack and not survived the movie if it was the movie I thought it was going to be.
Right.
So that was basically my impressions of like this. I was just so excited. I had no sense of apprehension going into Man of Steel. I thought I was in good hands. Nothing, no, you know, no dislike of Zack Snyder at all. Quite the opposite. Perhaps the only thing that he said that made me kind of worry a little bit was I heard an interview where he said the glasses were stupid.
Right.
That made me worry a little bit. Where he was like, the fact that Lois Lane can't tell that he's Superman with the glasses is stupid. And I was like, that had me a little bit, but I was like, they'll probably figure something out that I'll like. And that takes us in to what we feel about Man of Steel, unless you want to say address anything else about what.
No, we can get into it because I my opinion changed from when I had first seen it. So
okay, so what was your first opinion, and then And
Well,
how do you feel now?
I saw it like twice in the theater. I loved Man of Steel. I thought this is great. Like it was the fights were good. Zod was threatening. This idea of I like the idea that he's not just taking over a planet. He wants to terraform it into Krypton. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. You know, this whole stuff with the codexes and all that. I thought this is really cool. And the fights were banging good. And then and some of my friends, and Sean's in the chat right now. Sean Decepticon. He was not into it, and he's a big Superman fan just like me. And he was trying to convince me, and I was like kind of fighting back. No, like he's not Superman yet. It's called Man of Steel. That's why he'll become Superman later. And we're going back and forth. And then I think when I got it on Blu-ray and I watched it with my wife, and this is now in the comfort of my own home. Now I've got a 65-inch TV with surround sound or whatever. So I'm watching it. I'm thinking, oh boy, like what this is. I'm like, oh, like this is a kind of a neat action movie, I guess. But I'm like, this is not really Superman, and it's not just like the killing of Zod, which we can get into. We've been like this topic has been beaten to death by fans, back and forth, and it's not even that. I just felt, and I've always said this, that it's like the movie is relying too much on the fact that we know who Superman is, and we're shocked that we're not getting the Superman we think we're getting. But my question is, why is it wrong for me to expect a Superman and get the Superman I'm expecting, since the character's had 80 years of history? And also, it's like, who are you appealing to with this movie? Because anyone who's a Superman fan, who's a casual Superman fan, is not going to like this, because they're just like, oh, this is weird and dark and he's killing people. And then the people who are liking it, where do you go from here? This idea that later we'll tell this story. But Superman 1, which we'll get into, that movie told everything in one movie, and halfway through the movie, we had Superman established as Superman, the proper Superman. He's a 30-year-old man. He doesn't need to take all this time to figure out who he wants to be. Show me a boy at 7 and I'll show you the man. It's like, with a proper upbringing, you would be the man you are. I like the idea that he goes around and kind of helps people and tries to find what he wants to do. And we're going to talk about it. I've got lots of notes on Superman 1. But that was my big problem, where I'm like, at the end of this movie, it wasn't super. I wasn't like, I was just like, oh, that was a cool action movie.
Yeah, and I think that is the disconnect with a lot of people, because I understand why people love it. There is a lot of visual candy. This is I wouldn't say it's a fucking technical,
right?
The technical wizardry of like the action scenes. It's just fantastic. The score, each frame of the film, to be honest, could be like a panel from a comic book, right? Like,
for sure.
So I get, like, the visual eye candy of this movie is fucking fantastic. Where it falls apart is the script and the fact it fights against, and this gets to the heart of our question. It fights against being traditional Superman, even where it makes more sense within the script itself, within the film I'm watching. I'm not talking about like, oh, my personal taste. Like I personally would like it to be more traditional Superman.
Right.
The story itself is desperate for this character to be traditional Superman. For it to make sense, and they keep trying to want to take that away from us. Like, the whole film is about hope, right? And all I feel is despair by the end. And you know what would have made me feel that hope? If it was fucking traditional Superman, right? Like, not. And when I say traditional Superman, please do not get me wrong. I love fucking Christopher Reeves, and we're going to talk about Christopher Reeves and our love of that very soon. But at the same time, I did not want to see Christopher Reeves Superman again. I wanted this to be what Christian Bale was to Michael Keaton. I wanted this to be to Chris Reeves, and I still want that movie. To be fair,
me too. Yeah,
because I think you need to update, like, Metropolis, where Superman is, to a modern context. but you know, at the same time keep the core spirit of the character alive. It's not about the aesthetics of the character. It's about the core beliefs and core kind of whatever. But let's get into this. First of all, there's the stupid of the movie, right? So I had a particular thing where I'm like thinking about Superman 1 and 2 and its tone. It should be a lot stupider than Man of Steel. Yeah, I find the logic in those movies much more consistent. The logic it presents you with of what can happen, what is possible, what Superman is trying to achieve, much more consistent in that movie, Superman 1, than even in Man of Steel. So it's not one of the first things, but it's just a great example that I always give. The whole way through this movie, Man of Steel, Clark Kent is trying to hide his identity, right? That's the whole fucking point of this movie. It's like
Right.
he's trying to hide himself. He wants to make sure that the government doesn't know who he is. And you know, by the end of it, what we're supposed to get to is that he's embraced a way of being able to do all of the things that he I suppose wants to do with his powers. He's somewhat reluctant, but at least he has a thing of like he can be out in the open now to the world, but he still wants to hide his identity. So what does he say to the general after destroying, you know, this excessive piece of fucking tech, the satellite, right? And the general starts asking him, you know, about himself or whatever. And he says, "Hey, I'm just from Kansas." And I'm like, dude, wait a second. How long do you think it's going to get them to narrow down who you are, you motherfucker? Right? Like, you've just told them the state you're from. The aliens went to Kansas. They were at a specific location,
Right.
which is your fucking mother's farm. How long do you think it is going to take them to identify that was you? You know, if your whole thing is about hiding your identity, and you think about that, you compare that to a simple scene in Superman 1 where Lois Lane asks Superman his age, right? In Superman 1, and he says, I'm just about, you know, I'm between 20 and something years old, right?
Yeah,
And she says,
yeah,
exactly, over 21, right? And she says, aha, because you don't want people to know who you are. The consistency of what the character is trying to achieve and what his goals are there. That's the whole problem with this fucking movie. Everyone has goals in Man of Steel, and yet they act in ways that contradict what is established as their fucking goal of the story.
Yeah, like why does he need to keep his identity in Man of Steel? Like I never, and then and Sean mentioned. I'm just looking at the comments. Sean, Decepticon, he's my buddy. He's my friend Sean. He just mentioned the other part. Like, why is Superman upset that he killed Zod? Like, why should he be upset? Like, where in this movie am I getting his personality from? It's like, just kill all the Kryptonians. They're bad guys. Kill them. Like, who cares about your identity? You don't need it. Like, Superman 1, the Christopher Reeve movie, explains all of this to a person who's never seen Superman. This movie wants you. They're like, Nerd Man, we want you to know who Superman is so that you could be shocked when all this stuff that doesn't make sense happens. It's like, but it doesn't make sense in the script, in the movie you're showing me. It doesn't make sense.
Right, and again, you've hit to the heart of the thing, right? Which is one of my initial criticisms of the movie, which was, yeah, you know, you expect us to know who Superman is, but then you keep going against what he would ultimately do, right? You're expecting me to have this initial knowledge, this prior knowledge, and when you watch something like Batman Begins, when you watch something like Wonder Woman, when you watch something like Shazam, Batman 89, any of these fucking DC origin movies, which are the greatest fucking origin movies of all time, MCU fucking stands, fight me. They are the greatest origin movies of all time. When you watch those, you know who those characters are. I don't need to rely on my knowledge of Linda Carter to get who Wonder Woman is in Wonder Woman 2017 and what she stands for. I don't need to rely on my knowledge of Adam West to get what Batman 89 is about, right? And what he stands for. So again, you're right. When he kills the Zod and screams, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's this emotional scene." I'm like, well, why do you say that? Because you know Superman doesn't kill, but nothing in this film has established that Superman doesn't kill. So, miss me with that bullshit, right? Like it's just he screams and then he's fine in the next scene anyway, right? It's like Metropolis has somehow magically been erected. Like the Daily Planet isn't a rubble anymore. They're just sitting around in the Daily Planet. The guy, I fucking hate this movie. Sorry, the guy. I just remember the guy. I'm so sorry, guys. I know there's so many people who love it, and I hate destroying things people love. But the guy who just saved Jenny Olsen, right? I believe it's Jenny Olsen, right? Supposedly, the guy who saved her, right, is asking her, "Can I? Do you want to go to a baseball game together?" And she's like, "Nah, go and ask the interns." And you're like, "Oh, way to, be nice to the guy who stuck it out with you and saved you. He just wants to take you to a baseball game. You won't even go out with it." So anyway, but everything's just normal. Everything's hunky dory. It seems like the city's just magically been rebuilt, after he's done this guttural scream and so yeah, it's a mess. And that's why I don't understand. I get why you like it. If you like action, which is it turns into a big action spectacle about, I don't know, I guess 45 minutes into it, maybe even 10 minutes into it, if you capture, if you want to count the Krypton scene. But it turns into a big action spectacle very, very early on, and then just keeps on going. So if you're one of those people who always wanted to see Superman have a proper fight, not like Superman 2 style, where you have to still use your imagination to fill in the gaps. This one was like a full-on CGI spectacular, right? If you wanted to see that, I can understand loving this movie, but please do not tell me this is a masterpiece, right?
Yeah, people really love it, and I think anything, and a lot of people have told me that this movie got them into Superman and comics and all that. I think that's great. So if that's happened, then that's fantastic. And I don't ever want to, again, just like you, I'm not saying you shouldn't like this or have the same opinion as me, but the movie itself relies too much on the outside views of Superman, which the first Christopher Reeve movie did not. It's a complete story that tells you the origin of the character. You see him grow up. We'll get into it. It goes through everything like a normal movie. Man of Steel expects me to know Superman so he could deconstruct him for me. It's like, but that's fine. You can deconstruct him, but you still have to have a script that makes sense with its own story. Kill Zod, fine. Kill Zod. Go and kill Theora. Go and kill Non. Kill all these a-holes. They're trying to terraform the planet, destroy shit, and just be like, look, man, I had to do look, General, I had to do what I had to do. I had to take these guys out. Like, you don't get, when John McClane kills Hans Gruber in Die Hard, does he go, no? He's like, screw this guy, he's a terrorist, shoot him. And
yeah.
Right? Like, I don't see why Superman would be so upset over killing anyone, because he doesn't care. He's like, I don't know who I am yet. Like, this
is the film where Superman laser eyes your unborn fetuses, right? So I don't feel. I have to tell you how I felt. By the way, I never got into it because this is when I first left the film. I was trying my best to justify it, but even my instincts were like, that was one of the first criticisms I said. Well, you don't have to go back, but it's always fascinating for me. I every once in a while I go back to my first YouTube review of Man of Steel, and I'm trying so hard to like it, and try and but that was one of my first criticisms. I'm like, the film expects you to know who Superman is. I called it the good, the bad, and the ugly because there was a lot of good that I saw in it. But for every good, even with all the goods I was trying to do, I kept going, yeah, but, and then it does this that I don't like. But I was gonna say that I want to talk about specifically why, because you made some really, really good points on why this isn't Superman, right? Like in your in a discussion I saw with you with MSK, great channel by the way, MSK. I do a lot of stuff with him. So I wanted to talk about what because this takes us into obviously Superman 1 and 2. What specifically about this isn't Superman for you? Why isn't this character in this film Superman?
I think the thing is that look, Superman is an alien because of his DNA makeup, not because of what he is. He is human. He's a human. He was a little kid and he was brought up with good old fashioned values. He's brought up on a farm, so he does hard work. He doesn't just get a pass. He doesn't, he has to work. He goes to school. He can't show off who he really is, even though we'll get to that in the Grieve movie where they explain why. He grows up with human values. He is absolutely the perfect human because humanity is your mind and your body. Our bodies are frail, right? A scorpion can sting you and you die from poison, or a rhinoceros can kill you. If we didn't have any of these human weaknesses, we wouldn't be the way we are now. There wouldn't really be greed and all this stuff, because what would be the point if we're all invulnerable and we all live for hundreds of years? There wouldn't be any of these wars or anything like that, right? So that's what Superman is. He's never been in fear of dying or losing his life. And the whole point is that because of that, his mind is now so like purely human and good. It's like he if someone tries to shoot you and misses, you'll be like, F this guy, I'm going to shoot back. I got to protect myself. But when someone shoots Superman, his reaction is not to shoot back. His reaction is like, look, it's like you're confused, and and he'll take them down or whatever. It's like you don't go around crushing ants because you're stronger than them. And if a little kid came up to you with a stick and hit you with a stick, would you hit the kid back? No, the stick doesn't hurt. You'd be like, son, you're going, you have to calm down. What's going on? It's like, that's what Superman is. And the point of that is like, yes, I can't do that. If I get shot, I get hurt. But the thing is that I'm supposed to look up to this person, and I'm supposed to think like, okay, what would I do in this situation? And what's the good thing to do? What's the right thing to do? And you can't always do it because you are a human. So, I mean, it is what it is. But that's the feeling that's removed. And that's from the upbringing. The Jonathan Kent, the Mom Pa Kent stuff is really bad. It's like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have saved the bus, or, he's going into this, or save the kids. And he stands there while his father dies. Superman would never and they're like, well, maybe they could find out who he is. Superman would lay his life down to save a random person he doesn't know. Never mind his father, who's standing there, where he could quickly go with super speed and save his father and come back. His father dying of a heart attack through natural causes serves a big purpose in the first movie, which we'll talk about. That was done perfectly. Here, it's done so stupid. Anyone could have you could have saved him in a second. And all of that leads to the Man of Steel we're getting. That's the problem. And it's like, your upbringing defines who you are. And in this movie, they're showing you this upbringing. You're like, well, that's not going to be the Superman that we love. Right away, you should know. It's like, this is weird. Like, why is he, and it's just not Superman. Hey there. And that's the thing. So there's that. And then there's just, he does little petty things here and there. And he does things as like like they keep saying it's realistic. I know, but Superman himself is not real. He's in our real world, but he himself is not.
As well. Yeah.
Right. It's like he's invulnerable. So right there, his entire life would be completely different to ours, right? I don't know. It just doesn't feel like Superman for those reasons. You never feel like, yeah, Superman's doing the right thing in this situation. It's always a fight back scenario. Someone confronts him, he fights back, or he destroys the guy's car or whatever. And I'm like, okay.
I didn't mind that stuff. Apart from it was stupid that no one would hear that, like the truck is being fucking crushed, and I didn't mind all that character building stuff. I didn't mind exploring a period where Clark was a little aimless at all. I wish he was still a little bit more positive, that it shined through that, that the Superman was in there, but it just hadn't crystallized in his mind that that's necessarily what he wants to do. So I could deal with him, like this fucking guy's a jerk, like he deserved worse than what he got. It's just, again, stupid.
Right.
Think about it. They'd hear that, right? Like, or even, Clark being a bit petty. I mean, you think back to Superman 2, Clark was a little bit petty, with where he comes back to the place
Yes, we'll talk about
to
that.
beat up that guy. But you've made some fantastic points, and this is why I wanted you on, like, because you've crystallized it in a way where you give. I'm much more of esoteric when I talk about these things, and I talk about like story character archetypes and the problem with him as an archetype in the story. And you've just given, like, the examples, the substantive examples. So you're right. I mean, here's the issue with this Superman. There's two things that I think are core to Superman as a character, and you can't mess with it. And if you mess with it, you better do something a lot better, right? If you're going to mess with this. First of all is the aspirational hero part, right? Aspirational heroes are the rare type of heroes, unlike reluctant heroes or anti-heroes. Like Batman's a bit of both a reluctant hero and an anti-hero. So for instance, Batman doesn't know he wants to become Batman first. He just wants to get revenge on the killer in Batman Begins. But then, like, what's her name slaps the crap out of him, gives him some sense,
Rachel.
and then he goes on his journey to actually do what he's supposed to do, right? Like to get like proper justice, not like some kind of where he's the judge, jury, and executioner, right?
Street justice.
So that's the kind of reluctant hero model. The aspirational hero model is Wonder Woman, right? Superman, Captain America, Jon Snow. These kind of characters. I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones person.
I've watched it all. I've got all the seasons and everything.
Yeah. These kind of characters, it's very, very important that they have, one, a noble mentor, right? And then secondly, they have to want to be the hero. They have to go after, like, I've got to save the people. Other things might stop them. People might stop them. Other things might stop them, right? The situation might stop them, but they centrally always want to go and do the right thing. So Wonder Woman, she's a bit naive. She has some very black and white morality. What does she say? As soon as Steve Trevor arrives, her mother's saying no. The Amazons are saying no. I've got to go and save the people. They need my help. I need to save them straight away, right?
Yep.
That is Superman. That is the model of what Superman should be. And the second thing that is really, really important to the character is always finding another way. Like, so he is the superhero who most, a lot of superheroes do this because they're modeled after Superman, but he is the one that most, is and the embodiment of this ethos, which is he has to find another way, even if it's impossible. He has to find that impossible way to solve a situation without death, without destruction, while being committed to doing the right thing. That one I can be a little bit more loose on, that part of the aspect of his character. So as you said, if they had have established that he would never kill in the beginning and then he kills at the end, and you see that he's so upset with this that he couldn't find an impossible way out, I could have handled that. That would have been like somewhat okay. I wouldn't have liked it, but it would have been somewhat okay. But the whole point of, you remember the classic kind of Superman trope: Lois Lane's in danger or the city's in danger. Who will you save? Like, with mustache twiddling Lex Luthor. Who are you gonna save? And he always finds a way to save both of them. Right. Right.
Yeah.
So that is the impossible kind of thing that, you know, that I think is what makes him inspirational. That's what lifts you up when you finish a Superman movie, where you're like, that feeling of like hope, that like, yeah, you know, he did it again, you know, like we can trust him, we can believe in him. And that's just missing in this movie. All of those fundamental things are missing. And I think they would have been so much more powerful if they kept those aspects, what with Superman operating in a more real world, to still keep that fantasy element of him doing the impossible. That would have been the inspiration and the hope in
And
the
we were,
movie.
yeah, and also I like Henry Cavill a lot. And just to mention about the girl, him going around finding himself and thing. I mean, in Superman 1, which we will get to, it's like this stuff was done when he's a teen. He's like, you know, he goes, I could get a touchdown every time. You know, does a bird show off when it flies? And he's like, look, son, this is him experimenting and showing off when he's a teenager, where you want to stand out and be liked, not when you're 30 years old. But in any case, where's the playfulness aspect of things? Like, there's like scenes in the Christopher Reeve movie where, you know, where he's in there in the alley and they shoot and he grabs the bullet and he pretends to faint. And then he's like, really low. And she's like, Clark, are you okay? He's like, oh, I fainted. And he's like, really? Why would you risk your life for, you know, $10, some makeup and like a hairbrush? And she's like, you just described the exact
one of
content.
my favorite scenes. Yeah, go
Right.
on.
And it's a little bit of a wink. And the point of these little character, little cute things is, it's like, it makes you like Superman. You're like, oh, that was cool. I see what he did there. You know, that was a little bit of a wink. And then he's like, oh, can you deliver some of my paycheck to this address? And she's like, oh, don't tell me your bookie. He's like, no, it's my mother. And it's like, oh, and it's
Oh
like,
no,
oh,
it's
it's the
silver-haired mother.
silver haired mother. And it's like little things like that, right? Like, where's the niceties? Where's Superman just being a nice guy, just being a cool, nice guy? He doesn't need to be clumsy, because he's not clumsy anymore. In the comics, but he
I
should be
like
a
the
nice
clumsiness.
person.
I'll talk about that later, though.
Okay, yeah, that's fine too. Yeah,
Go.
but where's the nice things? Where's the politeness of things, ma'am, and, you know, and sir, and good day, sir, and like, oh, you know, I always thought swell was a great word, you know, and he goes, right, like, where's
Yeah,
that? Like,
yeah. Go
they're too
on.
busy.
I'm just agreeing with you. I
Yeah, no,
wanted
I
you
was
to
just
continue.
they're too busy trying to be clever. Like, oh, in this scene, we're gonna show how Superman would react if this happens. Like, okay, and it's like, okay, well, then in this next scene, we're gonna show, like, you know, Zod saying, no matter what happens, this fight's gonna end in a death. And it's like, okay, but where's the time out in the movie where Superman is enjoying himself? Where, you know, when him and Lois go out for a fly, or where he just goes flying, and you're like, it's just him flying, because he enjoys the fact that he can fly, and I can't fly, so I get to watch him fly around and just do little things and swoop. It's like they do this in Spider-Man. There's just scenes where Spider-Man's just swinging around, woohoo, like,
Enjoying himself. Yeah.
Wonder Woman, right? Like, Wonder Woman 84, they're in the plane, and people, you can like that movie or
Dude,
not, but they're
they do it in Batman Begins. I'm not. I'm being
like,
serious. Like, they do it in Batman Begins, where he's just racing around in the Batmobile, and he's like, "Hey, can I have this in black?" Right? Like,
yeah,
even
right.
that. Like, they get that moment of him just like, "Hey, you know, this is cool. You know, it's
This is
cool to be
cool.
Batman. It's not just this despairing,
right,
you know,
right.
terrible fucking thing." And those points
Yeah.
are important, because people like people who are enthusiastic. You know, you don't like people who are like mopey and don't want to do anything. Oh man, this is such a burden for me to fucking. This is bullshit, man. I can fly.
Yeah.
This is fucking bullshit. You know,
Yeah, like,
it's like I know exactly what you mean. I mean, that's not a big. It is a kind of hang up, because I think those scenes are important, and you're right. Like, they need to have those in the film, but like it's also just, you know, little things for me about Man of Steel where I'm just like, why do you get in your own way, Zack Snyder? Even like on an aesthetic level, what the fuck was Krypton about? I fucking hated Krypton. Everyone loves Krypton in that movie. I fucking hated it. It looked like a mushy red bullshit Martian land, and I'm like, I get it. It's a red sun, so it's gonna be a red planet. But I'm like, dude, Could you imagine a Zack Snyder version of a Crystal Planet with
Yeah.
how he would have tried to depict? How do you make sense of crystal technology? You know, because he would have tried to make some kind of rationale for that. And I think that would have been so fucking beautiful and, you know, done, you know, it would have played into his style even more, you know, than just making this generic fucking bland red planet, right? That doesn't shout like, oh, this is our you know, aspirational hero who comes from the heavens. You know, that's what it's supposed to be. It's almost like the Moses or Jesus kind of parable, which
it is,
again
yeah,
is
it's Moses.
done, which again is done better in Superman 1, by the way.
His father,
With the reference to Christianity, right, where Jor-El says to he says when he's sending the baby off, and the father becomes the son and the son the father.
Yeah.
Very simple, not banging your head, not Superman in Christ pose, just very simple. Sends them off. So but yeah, just to finish the point I was making, is just like there's certain iconography of Superman that's just missing from here. Playful stuff. Where did Zod say kneel before Zod? You know, that's cool. Like, if you're gonna do a realistic version of the character, you want to see him say, to find a way of writing it in there for him to say kneel before Zod, with it making sense, right? Like, because before it's just this cartoony thing where he's just kneel before Zod. You want to see him do it, but like build up to it, like where he goes kneel, you know, where was that stuff?
I know,
you know?
I know. And like, I mean, I could write, you know, the scene where you're talking about where he's like the God thing. I could write that scene for you. So he comes down and saves them, and they're like, "Wow, thank you, Superman. Are you a god?" He's like, "No, ma'am, I'm not a god. I'm a friend." And then he flies off.
Oh man,
you know, like, you know, like, I mean, like, you know, what is going on in this movie? Like, right? Like, they're showing you these scenes like, oh, look, he's God. No, but for like, he needs to interact with the people he saves. It's like, it's like he just saves them. It's like, but I want to see them say like, wow, thank you so much, Superman. Thank you. It's like, it's okay. It's you'll be okay now, man.
Gave me chills thinking of that. Like how much better that would have been.
Can you imagine if he and they do the whole shit? He comes down and she's like, "Oh, are you a god?" He's like, "No, I'm a friend." And then he helps them, and then like, how am I writing this? Right? I mean,
dude, I said this like a while back. Like, there's so many easy fixes to these scenes that just would have helped the film, but he just wanted to go in this dark direction. It's like, dude, okay, you want to kill Park Kent in a tornado, fine, but that's okay. I can see that. He doesn't always have to die of a heart attack,
sure,
right? Just have Park Kent trying to save a little girl, right? He says, take your mother back and keep her safe. I'm going to go after this little girl. Give, you know, Park Kent the heroic ending. Park Kent gets halfway, gets stopped by something, right, along the way. And, you know, he's down. And Superman only has a chance to save the little girl or his dad. And his dad goes, no, save her, right? Save the little girl. And he's like, he doesn't know what to do, runs over to the little girl, saves the little girl, and then he's like inches to go and save his dad. It's too late.
It's too late. Yeah.
You've got your fucking, you know, heroic thing. You feel good about Park Kent. You feel good about Clark Kent. He's heroic. It writes itself.
Yeah, and you feel bad for
shit.
Yeah, you feel bad for Clark in your situation because you're like, oh no, he didn't make it. Oh no, he didn't make it. In this one, I'm like, dumbass, go save your dad. He's right there. Like go do something. Like, that's the impression you're getting now. You're like, why are you standing there like an idiot? Like, go save your father. He's going to die. It's like, but he's telling me not to. It's like, well, save him anyway. Like, I just, oh gosh.
Anyway, I do want to move on, like, from this, because This stream should be about celebration, not about hate. But there was one thing I did want to ask you because I'm kind of curious. As I said, I'm not very precious about like these characters. Only two things really pissed me off about Zack Snyder's universe. I actually like Justice League. I don't know if you like Zack Snyder's Justice League.
No.
No. Okay,
No.
so you
I
don't
don't
like
like any
Zack
of them.
Snyder's. Okay, and I liked BVS. Even though I hate Superman in it, still I think
Yes,
Superman's
me too.
terrible in it. But I like the realism, the groundedness, the political kind of stuff. So that's fine. But there's two things that piss me off about Zack Snyder's universe, which is the Justice League kill. Don't like that. And Superman essentially. So Superman is like a really like it's just a fail for me, like the whole way through, up until Zack Snyder's Justice League, where you start hearing Pa Kent finally saying the right things during the flight scene. I like that a lot. That went a long way to helping me like that movie. Now, a lot of people disagree with me though, and I was just curious as to your thoughts on the rest of Zack Snyder's present. Oh, and Batman killing, that was the other thing I don't like about it.
Right.
But that, you know, again, because I think it just doesn't make sense within the universe. How do you do Flashpoint if Batman's a killer in the main universe, right?
Yeah. Or kill Joker. Why don't you kill Joker?
Or why don't you kill Joker, etc., if he's murdering all these people? All of those kind of questions arise, right? But like one thing I have a lot of disagreement on is like characters like Lex Luthor, characters like the Flash. People like, oh, he doesn't have yellow lightning, so it's not the Flash. To me, that's where it goes too far. It started off with Superman, and I was part of that crowd where I was like, that's not Superman, right? That's fundamentally not Superman. But then I feel like ever since, that opened the floodgates to everyone being able to kind of, you know, to the point where I feel like some of these filmmakers might feel a little bit like handcuffed with what they can do with these characters, because everyone's like, if he doesn't have the right haircut, you know, it's not the right character. That's not the character. You know, so how do you feel about, like, you know, Lex Luthor? Do you think Lex Luthor wasn't the Lex Luthor from that you've read in comics, or
Lex Luthor has been different in different ages depending on when you're reading. I kind of like the Man of Steel relaunch, the the post-crisis relaunch with John Byrne, where he's like a businessman, you know, like. But and the animated series as well. I don't like Jesse Eisenberg. He seems kind of young and scrawny and weird, and he's like, oh, Bruce Wayne meets Clark Kent. I'm like, why are you talking like that? Like, it's just weird. I don't know. I'm like, Lex Luthor needs to be a jerk. Like,
yeah,
I'm Lex Luthor.
No, I know what you're saying, but I'm saying that it's the core of the character wrong. Not the performance necessarily, but is the core of the character Lex Luthor, or do you think it's still?
He's not too bad if you're talking about that. Yeah, the core is not too bad. He still has plans and schemes, and he's putting stuff together, and he's thinking 10 steps ahead and all that. So he's kind of there, but it just became too silly. Like, there's the jar of piss. Like, seriously, like
I had a whole debate of the jar of piss the other day.
I mean, it got too weird, and I don't know. I couldn't get into him. The Snyder stuff, like BVS, again, same as you. Superman is not great. He dies at the end. Like, Superman's legacy is he's not Superman in the first movie. He dies like an idiot in the second movie, and in the third movie,
Superman in the second movie
either. And then in the third movie, he's in it for 10 minutes in a black costume, which has nothing to do with Superman anyways. I know he gets solar powered, but they never mention that in the movie, and he should take it off at the end. At the end, it should be this. What I'm wearing, it should be that at the end.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, that last scene where he's still in the black, I'm like, dude, again, get out of your own way, Zack Snyder. You want to mythologize these characters. He's in the black suit during the movie. That's great. When he does that rip of the shirt, that had to be him in the blue and the yellow and the, you know.
Right.
But anyway.
No, but this again, the audience knows that he wore the black costume to absorb the solar energy easier so that he could be powered up to fight. But it's never said in the movie. It literally is him walking, and it's like, you will inspire hope, you will be the light. And then he picks a black costume. Well, nothing inspires hope like a black costume, which looks like Batman, which also looks like the evil Kryptonians that 2 movies ago try to kill everybody. Why would you want to look like the villains? It's just bad. And I also don't like Wonder Woman killing in the beginning.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that either, but I did like the scene that followed. But it's like, but there's a guy with a pool of blood, and like, but
school children.
All in all, maybe it's like it's like an abuse, victim or something like that. I've turned into that. I guess I'm just like, I know where Zack Snyder's at now, so I can just appreciate everything else around the movie and just kind of pretend like she didn't kill those people because the scene is great. Otherwise, I just don't agree with this particular interpretation of Wonder Woman does kill. To be fair, she just doesn't. She just does it when she absolutely has to. It's like it's really, she'll pretty much never kill. But like if there's a thing where it's like innocent people or this fucking guy, she's taking out the fucking guy. Like, and there's no other way. And what I mean by that is there's no other way around it, right?
Right.
But yes, you're right. It's just too much. Like, but in general, I like the fact that he was doing a lot of things where he was really thinking about who or how these characters might be in the real world. And I do like that approach to comics a lot. Like really thinking about like, what is Aquaman? What is that society like? What does that? Do they talk in? You can't speak underwater, so maybe they'll speak in echolocation, like stuff like that. I actually dug. I'm glad they didn't keep that up in the Aquaman movie because that would have been really distracting. But for the little part that was in this movie, I like when comic writers and whatever do their little spins on the character and try and explain certain functions of that character in a more kind of modern way. So I liked all that stuff. But again, I'm just like, someone says Flash doesn't have yellow lightning.
Yeah, that's crazy. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm talking about character like if Batman's willing to kill, why doesn't he kill Joker if Joker killed Robin? And if Batman's willing to kill, why is Commissioner Gordon working with Batman when now he's an associate to a murderer? Right? It's those things. Wonder Woman wouldn't destroy the side of the building she was sent to protect. Like she's supposed to save the museum from being blown up, and then she incinerates the guy and blows up the museum anyway. I'm like, okay, she just blew up what they wanted to blow up. So I know they wanted to blow up more. Whatever.
They wanted to kill people, right?
People and all that. Sure. But I'm just saying, it's like you could just
snap people.
At least she had some
justification. I mean, I know, but at least she had some kind of, it was stupid. Like, I don't know why he did that, but I enjoyed more of the movie than I had nitpicks. Whereas with Man of Steel, I had more nitpicks than the bits I enjoyed. And BVS, it's kind of like, I'd say about 70-30. I enjoy 70% of it, and then 30% of it I think is absolute trash bullshit. So, for instance, even the way who Batman kills, I'm just like, dude, you're just killing random guys who work for a as far as things are concerned. I know it's not a legitimate company, but on paper, LexCorp is a legitimate company. These are people who are transferring whatever the fuck the company wants for him, and you're murdering them. This isn't the Joker. This isn't the Riddler's gang. This isn't like these are fathers with wives and whatever. It's never established that the guys that he kills when he's taking it from the white Portuguese, like taking the kryptonite from the white Portuguese, are actually anything other than just like security guys working for Lex Luthor,
Yeah, and there's always a scene. I don't remember if this was in Batman versus Superman, so maybe it was, and I could be wrong. But usually there's a scene before guards are killed where you see guards interacting with each other and saying, "Yeah, that fucking bitch did this," and "Screw yeah, she's an like where you see there's dialogue to show the audience that these guys are assholes. So it's okay that the hero or John Wick or whoever's going to show up is going to murder them all.
Right,
Right? Like,
exactly.
so if you're just showing random guards doing their job, it's like, well, maybe he doesn't know that Lex Luthor's a villain. I don't know. It's like, where's the scene where the guards are assholes and they're talking shit about people, and then
just because they shoot at him when he attacks them doesn't make them bad guys.
Right.
They shot at him legitimately because he rammed into them and then started chasing them in this fucking tank. I'd shoot at a guy who did that if I had a fucking gun, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they were perfectly legitimately acting in self-defense against a fucking madman who was chasing them in a tank. So I get those things, but I don't know. I guess I just again, I like the movie, but I put it down to Stockholm syndrome, or like, you know, battered spouse, you know, syndrome, where I'm just like, Zack Snyder's kind of beat me into submission because I love these characters so much, and he gets so much of the iconography and the action and the whatever right, and then I'm just like, oh, but you had to do that. Okay, fuck it. You know. But that is great, man. Like, great kind of to discuss that with you. Let's talk about the fucking Superman 1 and 2 and why we love this movie. I don't know what your introduction to Superman 1 and 2 was. Let me know what how did you come to these movies?
I saw them on TV as a kid, and I bought the VHS copies, and I saw part 3 in the theater and then 4. So I saw from Superman 3 and on, I've seen every superhero thing that's come in the theater, and whether it's Superman or not. And that's where I kind of fell in love. And it looked like Superman looked exactly like what you would, if someone's like, you see this comic, you know, we're going to put this is going to be on screen, and that guy is exactly the guy. And I'm like, wow, that's Superman. And there wasn't a question of, this is an actor playing a role, and he's been in other films like Street Smart or Death Trap, and you know, he's great in these other movies. But like, and it's like, this is like actually him. Like, Superman is real. There's the real Superman flying around. I'm like, oh my god, it's the real Superman. This is crazy. And that's where I started. And I love Superman 3 and Superman 4, mostly because Christopher Reeve. I love them all. I love them all.
I kind of like. I've got a soft spot for Superman 3. I just pretend.
I love 3.
I pretend the villain is Brainiac. To me, I just that's.
And then anyway. Well, Robert Vaughn makes a good point. He says it's not only that I should succeed, everyone else must fail. And that's a great line, where you have these people that really think that it's not that I'm just succeeding. I have to succeed at and make sure everyone else fails. But anyway, so that's how I got into it. It was all TV, and I got the VHS tapes. And Superman 1 was that clamshell VHS where you had to open it like it was like a book. And then 2, 3, and 4 were just regular VHS tapes, and I watched those endlessly. And then I've bought them I've bought every version of Superman every time it's come out. I've bought every edition of all the movies. I showed you earlier my big edition that my friend Steven got me for my birthday. That's where it started with Christopher Reeve. And I showed you earlier before we started, I got a Christopher Reeve. This is a dog tag. I have a recurring donation to his foundation for spinal cord research. It's a monthly recurring donation that's been going on forever, and I've got tons of these. You buy them for $10, you get 2 dog tags, and it's got Superman's logo on it.
And you know, going from that, exactly, Christopher Reeves really was Superman. He really took the character to heart. You know, he wanted it to be like a character that people could look up to, and like kids could really look up to. He, you know, I think he took it a little bit too far, to be honest, in 3 and 4, because and I got exactly where he was coming from in Superman 4. He wanted to put out a great message with Superman 4, with the anti-nuclear message, you know, and stuff like that. But and he was very proud that nobody died in the movie. This is a movie like
Yeah.
kids can always watch, and so he was just a great guy. He had a great attitude, and he knew Superman. He genuinely loved Superman. So that's stop your hey man.
Yeah.
So my kind of thing is, it actually took me quite a while. I loved Superman when I was young, when I watched the movies initially, up until I was 10, 12 years old. Then I went through a cool period where Superman was boring, right? And the only comic I got of Superman's was the death of Superman, right? Like, and I loved that comic and I loved Superman in it, but I was still like Spawn's cooler, and and the X-Men are cooler, they're just more gritty and whatever. So it took me some time, and I don't think, after I was 12, I watched those films, even though I would watch them on repeat when I was young, when I was like up until about 12, 13 years old, watch them on repeat. And I don't think I watched them. I just remembered like kind of, having certain problems with, like looking back at it, thinking back at it, having certain problems with the campiness of it or something like that. But I didn't watch them. I just was remembering like the surface level that I was getting as a child of the movie, right? And then, I think I got into the DC animated movies. And I was like, holy shit, Superman is fucking not only was I right when I was 12 that he's the greatest super, my 12-year-old self was much more sensible, much cooler, and much more with it than my teenager self, who was a fucking grumpy emo asshole. In comparison with the bright and plucky 12-year-old. And I watched these Superman animated movies, and I was like, dude, I fucking love Superman. It made me love Wonder Woman as well. And think back to those Linda Carter movies. I already knew I liked Batman, so that was awesome as well. But I was like, no, this is the all-star Superman. The Superman versus the Elite. I'm like, dude, this guy is my fucking hero. This is the one. And then I went back to watch those Chris Reeves movies, and I was astounded. I'm like, these are cinematic classics. There is it just on a basic filmmaking level, right? Like, it's there's technical wizardry to it. Then you have this kind of, the cinematography has this kind of nostalgic glow to it. And I'm not saying a nostalgic glow because I've got nostalgia. I'm talking about they actually put that in the presentation. There's almost a smoky feel to I don't know how to express it, to those bits on.
It's soft.
Kansas.
It's a soft look. Soft. It won't, like, if you have it on 4K, it won't be razor sharp like if you're watching like Tron or something or whatever. It's like it's very soft. It's soft grain. I don't know what film stock they use. Is probably 70 millimeter. I would assume Superman 1 is 70 millimeter film. Someone can. I'm sure someone in chat knows.
It's more in Superman 1 than 2, almost, actually, because of all the Kansas stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
So that it just looks beautiful. The movie looks beautiful. The colors glow out. Like, obviously on Krypton they really glow out, but even the reds, and whatever, just like the wheat fields, just the yellows and the contrast with the red, just beautiful looking movie. Obviously this is Mario Puzo wrote a lot of this, great writer. And we're going to get into the comedy in a while, because a lot of people have problems with the comedy, which I really don't. I'm quite the opposite. And then obviously the director is a director. I realized, holy shit, this is a director of some of my favorite fucking movies as a teenager, that I was like, oh, Superman's lame, blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm watching The Omen like over and over again. I'm watching, I think he did The Goonies as well, right? Like, Goonies is one of my favorite. Was it? He did
I
one
think he
of
did
these kids' movies that I like a lot.
and he did what's it called? Lethal Weapon.
Of course, Lethal Weapon. So I love this director already. I just didn't realize like he'd made the Superman movies. Oh, you're looking it up.
I'm
If you're
looking it up.
looking it up,
I'm
looking
looking
it
it
up,
up.
good stuff. So I'll just finish my opening
Yeah,
thing
go ahead.
about this. And so like I was like, okay, now I understand why this is directed so fucking beautifully, and the technical aspects of it are so beautiful, and they're really capturing the essence of like probably when somebody first opened that Superman, comic in the 1930s or whatever. And it even starts off with like that little bit from the
Comic, yeah.
comic, right? It's a beautiful opening. So it's really capturing the essence. And then you just have this fantastic performance at the center of it. And I'll go into Christopher Reeves a bit more, but I'm sorry, I don't think to this day, I'll maybe Heath Ledger, maybe Robert Downey Jr., maybe, but to me, simply put, the greatest performance in a superhero movie to date.
Oh, easy. It's
it-
easy. There's no.
yeah, so that's my opening, and I'll go into like bits and pieces of it, of why I think that. Mm.
I mean, we could break down this entire movie because there's so much to talk. What about the music? It starts off with the damn best superhero theme there ever was for any superhero. The second you hear it, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, you're like, oh, that's Superman. My favorite soundtrack of all time is actually Conan the Barbarian, the Schwarzenegger film. But Superman, the movie, because of the entirety of that soundtrack, fits with the whole movie. But the Superman theme is the damn best superhero theme for Superman ever, period. End of story. You will not convince me that anything else is better. That won't happen. As soon as I hear that, you think, oh, and you're inspired, and you sit up. I showed it to my niece and nephew, who were like, I think they're like 7 and 10 or something at the time. And it's like, they're like, whoa. And like, they're sitting up, they're like, oh my God. And they're like, oh, the sound is so good, and I've got it cranked, surround sound on the big screen. They're like, whoa. And that right there, you start off and you're like, this is an epic movie. This is not a silly kids movie. This is not a stupid comic book. This took comic books seriously. It wasn't campy. It wasn't played for laughs.
It was campy,
a little bit.
It wasn't played for laughs. I'll say it wasn't played for laughs, but
laughs,
I'm going to go into some of the criticisms of the movie as well. So,
sure,
but yeah, go on. Continue.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that, and you see all the names come up, and each name is like Gene Hackman, Marlon Brando, and you're like, wow, all these big super name actors. Christopher Reeve is an unknown at the time, amongst the stellar cast, and so adults are sitting here with their kids who want to see Superman, and adults watching this movie who read Superman comics thought that they grew out of Superman until they watched this movie and they thought, wow, I don't think we grew out of Superman because this movie is great. When you've got something that pleases little kids and adults and old people, my wife is Indian, so she was brought up. She lived in India for most of her life, and they went to go see Superman in the theater. Like her and her family, they're like, this was our favorite movie. Like the whole family, it's like, guys, we all got to go watch this. This is incredible, and it's a movie for everybody. Everyone enjoys it on different levels.
Yeah, and it unifies all, at the time, and that's what's important about it. So I think as time has gone on, I don't agree with this, but perhaps Superman 1 specifically has not aged as well. And I would only say in terms of the technical aspects, in terms of the technical limitations they had, but they did a hell of a job, given what they could do to make it what it is, and to make you feel like he is flying, he is doing all of this stuff, he's zipping around, so I don't mind. I don't mind it at all, but I'd say like for younger audiences, I found that sometimes it's a bit too much for them, and the kind of what was like in terms of the 70s campiness right? Because these are filmmakers who grew up with Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton and that kind of stuff. Like that's what they watched when they were younger, right? So they're gonna input some of that humor into it. But to me, okay, you can have that criticism. It's fine if it's not your kind of humor, if it's not your kind of thing. But if you are gonna do a film that has that bit of campiness, that has that bit of almost golden era cinema kind of like humor in it and dialogue, this is the best type of that movie. I dare anyone to tell me, if you don't like campy movies, fair enough, find a better written, better executed movie that has elements of camp in it than Superman 1. Especially like, so the point is, for the 70s, like at the time 78 when that movie was kind of came out, that movie unified everyone fell in love with Superman at that time, right? That did what movies like Iron Man, Wonder Woman, Batman Begins, Batman 89, those movies did for those characters. That movie did for Superman at the time. It was the right Superman movie for the right specific time, right? And I can understand again why people don't like it, but I will say, if you haven't watched it in a long time, give it a go again, because there's some very clever stuff here, and it's a little bit darker than you might remember, and also it's got a lot of cheeky adult humor in it. It's not just straight up like cartoony, like Saturday morning cartoon kind of stuff. You've
Pink.
got Pink. You've got Lois Lane writing an article about old age homes having orgies, like
Yeah.
it's fucking, there's banana stuff in it for adults if you catch it, and like she's talking about like some rapist serial killer, like
rapist massacre and all that.
Yeah, like, so there's all of this kind of things in it that you obviously as a child you're just watching the silly, like the great performance by Christopher Reeves, a lot of that physical comedy stuff that he's doing. But when you watch it as an adult, you get to see some of the adult themed humor in it as well, which is like very funny and very, like, I'm sorry, you don't even find that in movies these days, like them talking about certain kind of adult stuff that was talked about in the movie.
Okay, I've got 2 points. 1 point campiness, 1 point realism. Campiness. First of all, our human lives are not always serious and dark, and it's like, oh, this is the tone. It's like, sometimes I'm a bit of a goof, and I say silly jokes to my wife, and she's like, oh, you're being such a goof. This is how we live in the real world, which leads me to realism. When I'm watching Superman Part 1 and they're walking around the street, it looks like the real street. It's the daytime. There's a hot dog vendor. There's people walking around. When you're watching Man of Steel or newer movies, they've made it stylized. It's not realistic at all. People keep saying, oh, this is the realistic version. It's not the realistic version. It doesn't look real to me. Why is there a tint on everything? Why is there a certain hue in every shot? It's like, this doesn't look like real life. When they're in the Daily Planet in the first Superman movie, there's people running around, excuse me, typing, papers everywhere. It's like, get me a coffee. What's going on? It's like, wait, how do you spell massacre? And it's like, excuse me. It's like, this is a real place where people are literally running around doing their job. It is not a stylized, cool version of what you think the Daily Planet should look like. It's a real newsroom. They're running around, slamming doors. Chief, I need this. Can you sign this off? And that's how people run around. This is a by-the-minute news place. It is real. They keep saying that this is we need the realistic version. You got it. That is the realistic version. People running around doing stuff that, like, I can't. People keep saying it just pisses me off a bit. It's like, oh, it's realistic and gritty. No, gritty and realism is not the same thing. My life isn't gritty. I don't like my day job, but it's not gritty. And I just had flooding damage, and I had to pay $1,300 to repair my walls. It's like, do you want to see that in a movie? I don't get it. It's like it is real. Everything looks realistic. Superman saving a real woman, a real helicopter, not a stylized version of everything. He's wearing a costume. He's wearing his childhood, blanket or whatever. It's like it's a realistic cloth. Like
Well,
I don't get it. Everything looks yeah.
I'll say this to what you're saying as well. Those first 15 minutes of the look. First of all, let's get one thing out of the way. This is a perfect origin movie.
For sure.
There are bits that I personally wouldn't have done. Like, I don't like necessarily like the flying scene that you like with Lois Lane. I think that's a little bit too much. It kind of like I'm just like little bits like that. Kind of like it doesn't take me out of the movie. I perfectly understand it for its time, whatever. But what I will say about that moment, which I absolutely love, is that I wanted to get the characters up so that we don't forget to talk about any character. What I will say I love about the kind of origin of this movie is everything you need to make a good superhero origin movie is found in this film. Everything, you know. It wrote the book on how to construct a well-made origin movie. So let me give you an instance so that I can give some concreteness to this. Superman's reveal of his costume, right? In this movie is the template for reveals of the final reveal of the superhero costume. The filmmaker, why do I always freaking
Richard Donner?
Richard Donner had great restraint in this movie. He knew that when Superman flies out of the Fortress of Solitude, right? Like to put him right in the back in the foreground, right? So that you can't quite make out the suit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when he's doing his first appearance, the first time you get a proper look at that suit is where he saves Lois in the helicopter. Yeah. The great reveal of the superhero in front of the people. That is something, even Zack Snyder didn't, for all his focus on genre movies and getting the kind of beats right, he doesn't get that in Man of Steel. The first time you see Superman in the Superman costume is just him like, learning something. It's something like, I guess it does turn into a great scene after where he's just flying around, but you really want to see Superman first in that Superman costume, much the way Patty Jenkins obviously understood this. Wonder Woman, right? First time
awesome.
you see her in the suit, you see her covered up in the suit, right? And then she gets, it's before the most awesome bit of Wonder Woman action in the film is when you finally get the reveal of the suit. So all of those aspects are laid out there in that Superman Origins film, and maybe you're used to it, because they did it so certain people love it. But you have to recognize that OG film was what laid it out. Yeah, there's bits, again, the spinning around the Earth thing. We can talk about that a bit later. That I think hold that movie down. I think Superman Part 2 is fucking perfect.
Yeah,
it's
perfect.
It's really, really great. Both versions, by the way. I like both versions. But anyway, so I just wanted to get that straight out of the way. And then let's talk about our favorite moments, because I think that will help us kind of narrow down what we love so much about the film. So what are your, what's your favorite moment of Superman 1?
Wow, Superman 1. I don't know. I like so many things. Emotionally, and it's not even a Superman thing, I really, really like, and I get choked up a bit on this, the scene where he's a teen and he runs past the train and jumps over it and comes back, and he's like, oh, showing off against son. He's like, well, does a bird show off when it flies? And he's like, no. And he goes, if I get the ball, I can get a touchdown every time. He's like, I know, son. He's like, and he says, when we first found you, we thought the government might take you away. And then he's like, and I know that you were here for a reason. And he goes, and I don't know what the reason is, and maybe it's I don't know, but I know it's not to score touchdowns. And like
Perfect Clark Kent scene.
Yeah, I mean that it's just, and then literally he has the heart attack. And the thing is, because it's like it's telling the audience, like, this movie was made for people who already know Superman and who don't know Superman, which is why it's a good movie. It's a good Superman movie because it gives you the Superman stuff you want, but it's also a good movie in the general sense because people that don't really know anything or don't know that much can still get out of it what a Superman fan gets out of it. So it's like it's teaching you that the character, it's like, yeah, he's here for a reason. And then that's echoed in the end, right? Where Jor-El is saying, you cannot interfere with the history. And then Pa Kent is like, you are here for a reason. Like, it's like this conflicting, the two dads in his head, right? That's my other favorite scene. Is those are the two favorite scenes of mine. That one, and then at the end where he doesn't know, should he save Lois? What should he do? And he's like, no. And then he's getting the conflicting fathers saying, no, you can't interfere. You're here for a reason. Those are the two. I think those are my two favorite scenes.
Yeah, I mean, you're right as well. That is fantastic. Like, so yeah, like him screaming, that guttural scream he has is so dark. I think it's done better than Henry Cavill's scream, just to throw a little
Henry's
bit more.
good. Henry's pretty good, but man, Chris Green is really good.
He went, you really believed him doing that. And yeah, so I love that. You're right, and the conflict, although it goes into the bit that one of the few problems I had with the movie. I had it, it's funny, when I was 12, I had the same problems with the film I have as an adult, which is weird. You'd think like as a 12-year-old, that I would have gone along with some of the things, but I always did have a problem with Lex Luthor's friend or whatever. I didn't like him as a kid. I didn't like him as an adult.
Like Otis, you mean?
Yeah, Otis. I just
Otis
I can't handle the character. I just can't handle him. And then that spinning around the planet, I was like, I remember as a kid just thinking, this is a fucking great movie. And then I'm like, what? Why would he do that? That's how you're going to solve that situation? But, but I love the movie so much that it didn't bother me. But I'll say that my favorite moments of this film it's pure. Okay, so first of all, I love the first 15 minutes of this movie so much. Yeah. The first 15, 20 minutes of that origin, everything from him saying goodbye to his mother in the cornfields, to the destruction of Krypton, to them, him talking to General Zod, and then, first one day you're gonna kneel before me. First you, then your heirs, and you just see it's so beautiful. Like, obviously, we're gonna talk about that performance hopefully a bit later, but all of that stuff is like where they take the film completely seriously. That first 20 minutes is a serious fucking superhero movie. You could almost have that made now. Like it's completely in the tone of like a modern superhero movie. And so the crystal planet, the crystal technology, I think that was first from this movie, right? The crystal planet idea.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Yeah, Sean would know. If he's, I think Sean is still watching us. I don't think I'd seen that version. And I've got Man of Steel, which is the post-crisis relaunch, so I don't remember. I don't think it looked like that. That was developed, I think, for this movie or whatever. That you're talking about the beginning scene. You know what's interesting in that scene? I don't know if people picked up on this, and this is, I've watched it so many times, but where he's putting Kal-El in the ship and he's saying, oh, he'll be strong, and then she's like, yeah, but he'll be alone. It's like, oh, but he'll be invulnerable. It's like, yeah, but he'll be different. Like, the mother is saying all of the emotional things. Like, he'll be an outsider, he'll be alone, he'll be different. And Jor-El is saying, yeah, but he'll be strong and impervious to pain, and he can fly. And I love that dialogue back and forth where the mom has different, like her feelings towards her son are different. She's like, no, but he won't be one of them, and he'll be an outsider. And then he's like, yeah, but he'll be strong. I love that dialogue.
I love it. And Brando apparently was just reading his lines off a fucking wall or whatever the fuck. I don't know what. One of the greatest fucking performances in a superhero movie ever. The guy could do anything. I'm a huge Marlon Brando fan.
Yeah, he's great.
Huge. Yeah. And I'm just like, he's sitting there like he is fucking Jor-El. He's like the wisest man in the universe, right? Like, and he's just delivering these lines with he adds such gravitas to the scenes and the characters. So I just love that. And then you're right, Pa Kent, that guy is fucking amazing in the film. He has a few lines, just this one scene, and it's just the perfect contrast to Jor-El. And then by the time it gets to the point where you're like, they can be a great people, Kal-El. At least they wish to be. They only need the light to show them. I'm just like, fuck it. This is mythology. This is not just a superhero movie. We're talking about mythology. We're talking about Hercules. We're talking about Achilles. This is the story of a hero who is a god, right, amongst men, who goes, you find out from their childhood all the way up until the great trials that they must face, right? This is what this movie is. And I love that. I love all of that first 15 minutes. And then the second, it might be up to 20 minutes. The second thing I absolutely love about this movie is Christopher Reeve's comic performance. It's Charlie Chaplin, it's Buster Keaton with a little bit of Christopher Reeves himself flair. Yeah. It's the first time you see like an actor. Maybe there is something before, but I certainly hadn't seen it. I know Edward Norton's very good at doing this, but an actor playing two distinct roles where you believe that they're two distinct entities, right? Like, you often think, people often make fun of the Clark Kent disguise. Christopher Reeves made you believe, well, maybe people could believe this because this guy's really fucking. He's just a clumsy, goofy. He's smart. He's not a stupid guy, but he's a little bit physically challenged there, And he's not too smooth, and. And he's just got this earnestness and whatever, but he still keeps that earnestness with Superman, but he does it in just this completely different way. And and he somehow manages to be like the least interesting guy to women in the bar, but at the same time, the strapping, jock at the same time in the same, breath. And I love that performance. But I'll say the scene that I just always go back to this because I love it. Is like it's the scene where I think you talked about it in the beginning, where they get mugged, right? And so he goes into the back street, and what is the line? You probably know it better than I do. But
he goes, "You can't solve society's problems with a gun." He's like, "You know what, pal? You're right. I'm going to turn over a new leaf after I rip off this lady's purse."
No, exactly. But he goes, "See, Lois, I knew this guy was a nice guy." It's such a wonderful, funny performance by this guy, and I can't see why anyone doesn't find it hilarious. These are great lines, and they're written well. It's clever writing. People, you can call it as campy as you want. As I said, you could call it campy, but this is the best type of campy humor that you would find in any kind of campy movie there is. Like, these are sharp lines. I love, another bit is, he goes, Superman just has some great lines all through this, where he's like, You're probably going to know the line better than I do, where he goes, "If confession is good for the soul," right?
I
What is
listen to
that
this
line?
man. Yeah, I
I'd
listen to
listen
this
to this.
man. He's got the whole thing in it. He's like, I listen to this man. He's got the diamonds. He's like, dumps them.
Yeah. If confession's good for just every line by this guy, he is bonkers, he's crazy, and he's so funny with the comedy timing, and yet it's subtle at the same time. It's not over the top. There's a subtlety
Right.
to his delivery of these lines where he gets the right chord and right note just to make it, just to put that little spin of humor on it that makes you laugh almost every time. I don't understand why people don't find it funny, because it's supposed to be ridiculous, right? Like,
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that lightens up and makes you it gets you excited for the character, and it makes you feel like he's a real person, and you can like, you could be friends with Superman. It's like, yeah, he's kind of a cool guy. He's goofy. Clark Kent's fun. He's fun to be around.
right, he's likable. That's what I don't
Yeah,
understand as well. He's such a likable, funny person, so you kind of like him and root for him. And obviously Margot Kidder, just she doesn't see Clark Kent at all, and so you root for him in this relationship with her,
yeah,
for her to fall in love with Clark, fall in love with actual Clark, not Superman, right? You want her to, so that there's that love triangle, which is great, love triangle between him and himself, and Lois Lane. So yeah, have you got any other favorite scenes you wanted to pull out? Like,
I'm looking at my notes. I started to take some notes to. I think this is an important scene too, where he's now revealed himself and he's done some heroic deeds, and he's like, "Well, that's it. Now I'm just going to be Superman." And Jor-El's like, "Well," he goes, "I know you revealed yourself." He's like, "Yeah, but it felt so good, right?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You wouldn't believe the feeling." He goes, "It felt good." He's like, "Yes, good." And he's like, "Well, you can't be Superman 27 hours a day," or whatever he says. He's like, "Well, 24 as it is on your Earth." He goes, "Because the humans are going to ask you to do stuff that they can do themselves, and they're going to use you as a resource." He goes, "And that's what humans do. They're going to exploit you as a resource." And that's the first thing. And he goes, and the second reason is that the only way your enemies can hurt you is to hurt the ones you love. Now, that literally like, you don't even need to re-edit that scene. That scene needs to just be inserted in every other superhero thing. Because people are like, "Well, why would you have an identity?" Oh, I don't get it. It's like, it's literally explained in the least amount of dialogue that it takes to explain. A person sitting in the theater saying, "Why doesn't Superman just always be Superman? Here's why." And you're like, "Oh, I guess that makes sense." Yeah, it's like, okay, perfect. I love that scene. It's very clear cut. It's like, no, you can't be Superman all the time because the humans are going to just use you as a resource. Instead, you inspire them. Number two, they'll find someone you love and they'll hurt the person you love because that's the only way that they can actually hurt you. And I'm like, perfect.
Yeah, it is really good, and it's really sharp writing. Actually, just curious, before I go on to some of the rest of these characters, um, uh, what do you have you been watching Superman and Lois?
For sure.
Yeah, do you like that?
Yes, I do. I like it.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think it's a different take. Look, it's checking all the boxes. It's got your little teenage drama, but it's not stupid garbage teenage drama where I gag every time I see it. It's fine. It's got the strong woman Lois Lane, but I like the Lois Lane parts. She's actually doing stuff. She's reporting. She's getting in the thick of things, and she's finding stuff out, and she's defending herself. So I like that. And then you get the
And she's
Superman
kind
bits.
of like Margot Robbie, Margot Kidder.
Margaret Kidder, yeah.
She's kind of got that Margot Kidder look. By the way, I think they were going
Yeah,
for that.
I think they were. And then you still have the Superman part. So you got a 45-minute show. You got 15 minutes of teen drama to get your little teeny bopper audience. You got 15 minutes of the Lois stuff to give your strong woman audience. And you got 15 minutes of the Superman stuff. And I'm okay with that because all of it is done pretty good, right? It's like the Lois Lane stuff. I like the Lois Lane stuff. I don't mind the teenage drama, and I like the Superman bits. So there you go. Now, is it a perfect show? Well, no, because I want a perfect show to be mostly just about Superman and his stuff. But that's okay. That's okay. This is the newer version of Superman. If you're going to do a newer version of Superman, at least the core character of Superman is good. And Lois Lane I think this is a fantastic Lois Lane in this Superman and Lois. She
Yeah.
might be my favorite.
Oh,
I
that's a
don't know.
bit. Like,
I'm not.
no,
I'm not.
no, no.
I'm not officially saying it. I'm not officially saying it.
That's
It's
crazy talk,
swimming in
bro.
my head. It's just
That's
swimming
Looney
around.
Tunes. You know, you should be going right now. No,
It's
no,
just
no.
swimming
She's
around in my
really
head.
good, though. She is
She's
really
good.
good. I have to say it's Terry Hatcher for me. Like Terry
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hatcher, like
Terry Hatcher's great. She's good.
she was so funny, and like she had the kind of comedic energy that Chris Reeves had. You know, like
Yeah.
what Chris Reeves was to Superman. I think she kind of got, you know, like all the best bits of Margot Kidder. I was going to say Margot Robbie again.
Again.
Margot Kidder. She got all the best bits of Margot Kidder, but she amped it up to that next level. Plus, she just looked like the woman that Superman would be following around like a puppy dog. So
Yeah, yeah. She's definitely the best looking Lois.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that bit. But Margot Kidder is my second. Then I like this one a lot. She might get there. She
Yep,
might get to the
she's
top
there.
of the list very, very soon because she's really, really good. I actually like Amy Adams not too bad as Lois Lane as well. From BVS and Justice League, not from Man of Steel. So yeah, let's go into some of the rest of these characters. All right. So should we start with villains, or do you want to go secondary characters first?
Oh,
Because
whatever you want to.
we've
Whatever you
touched
want
on
to do.
Jor-El and we've touched on
The Kents.
the Kents. The mother's great as well, by the way.
Yep, she's great too.
But I was going to say, all right, who was your favorite villain in this series, and why?
Well, General Zod for sure. Lex Luthor's great too. It's very difficult for me to decide. The thing is, General Zod is like that Kneel Before Zod, and the idea that Zod, like when Zod took over, like you got to understand, guys, if you haven't seen this in a while, Zod wins halfway through the movie. Zod is the ruler of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sitting around bored, and I bloody think this. I know I'm skipping to Superman 2, but it's so bloody genius.
Let's talk about Superman 2, because that's
Sure.
what was my segue. I knew the answer to that question. There's only one answer to the question.
Right.
There's only one correct one anyway.
Yeah, and she's like, you're ruler of all you survey, and so I was yesterday and the day before. And it's like, this is what happens. What do you think happens when you rule the planet? He just rules it, and you're like, well, I'm bored now because there's nothing to do here. I'm just the ruler, and he goes, there's no one to challenge me. And this is so genius. You never see the villain actually win. Superman was gone for those few days with Lois, and literally the world's been taken over. That's how important he is needed. But Zod is literally the ruler of the world. And he's like, I'm so bored. It's like, there's nothing to do here. He goes, I can just crush anybody. That's the point of it. When they have all these characters where they want to rule the world, it's like, you never see it happen. It's like, okay, what are you going to do now that you rule it? And now that you rule it, you're like, oh, well, this sucks. And Luthor coming in and saying, I know where you can get the son of Jor-El.
He made Luthor better. Like his bouncing off with Luthor was fantastic in this movie. Terrence Stamp is the fucking GOAT. And one woman that never gets the love that she deserves as a villain as well was Sarah Douglas as fucking Ursa. Those two Ursa as a couple were awesome. And I don't know why, again, Zack Snyder, why don't you just make Fiora Ursa? Right? Like bring back Ursa, because she was really good, Fiora, but you're
great.
Like, yeah, but let's like have some continuity here so you can add to the mythos. But Ursa was my favorite. I fancied the shit out of her growing up. I was in love with basically Ursa. I've got to play you a song about Ursa a bit later. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Talk for a while about your favorite lines of General Zod, and I'm going to find something.
Okay, so General Zod is great because when he lands there and he's like, "Who is this Superman?" And they're like, "You'll find out, General." He's like, "I defy you!" You know, he's like, "Come and kneel before Zod." I love that TV screen where he's addressing the public. It's like, "Where's this Superman?" You know, and all of those great lines. And him and Ursa's good too. Like Ursa's like, "Let's just hold hands," you know, and then she like like nails the guy or whatever. All that stuff is great. Everything that General Zod and Ursa say is just the best. I
Yes.
love every line of dialogue.
Single fucking line, right? Exactly. It's one of the greatest villain performances by the two of them of all. That's it. I wish it was in it a little bit more. I wish she had a little bit more presence because maybe they didn't realize how good she was going to be and how
Right.
charismatic she was going to be. But you're right. The lines of Zod are fucking awesome. It's like the president says, there is somebody who will never kneel before you. Who is this imbecile? It's just the understated arrogance of this man. It's just so fucking beautiful. I win. I
I
always
always win. Yeah, I always win.
I think my favorite line of his though. I had it in mind just a second ago. I was listening to this Ursa song because I just think you're gonna get a kick out of it. Have you ever heard this before?
No, I've never seen this before.
I'm guessing you haven't. What was his line that? I'm trying to think. What does? Oh, it's to Lex Luthor because I love the chemistry between him and Lex Luthor. Now, Lex Luthor in these series of movies is not necessarily my favorite Lex Luthor, although I think Gene Hackman does a fantastic job. He's the best part about it. It's just the writing isn't quite there for me. He deserved a bit better on the writing level, I think, as his Lex. But when he's gets to go back and forth with Terrence Stamp, that's where I love this Lex Luthor. He's my favorite in part 2. So Lex Luthor comes in and he's like, he starts giving General Zod lip. Like you failed. You failed to even beat Superman. Like he's rubbing it in. He's trolling like General Zod, and General Zod says, "Why do you say these things when you know I will kill you?" And it's like, in anyone else's hands, that is just a normal line. In Terrence Stamp's hands, that is gold. You could just be like, "Why do you say these things when you know I'll kill you?"
Yeah,
Terrence Stamp is, why do you say these things? It's so fucking funny. And again, that I'm like, when I watch these movies and I'm like, especially Superman 2, I can understand people being like a little bit off put by Superman 1. Superman 2 is just a great movie, and I'm like, there's 2 versions. I know there's a little mix up and whatever, and they need to make a definitive version, I think, because I think somewhere between both versions is the best possible thing.
Yeah, I agree.
But either version is really enjoyable. But what was I saying about Terrence Stamp?
I'll kill you for it. Just like such a casual. He's like just the way he's delivering the lines.
Yeah, it was the way he was delivering the lines, but I can't remember what I was saying now. I just distracted myself from it. But yeah, anyway, he's just this. Oh, right. I don't understand how people can watch Superman 2 and not just be. It's supposed to be doing that, right? It's supposed to be this hokey kind of like mustache twiddling villain. He is supposed to be the ultimate mustache twiddling villain who's just there to rule the world. He's just a pompous, and he plays it the best you could possibly play that role. So again, it's, I always judge a movie on what the movie maker was trying to achieve, right?
Yeah.
And what they're trying to achieve is this kind of comedy, great action, but it never undercuts itself, which is really good. Like, it doesn't undercut dramatic moments. So if there's a dramatic moment, it won't suddenly throw a joke in there.
Right.
To try and, to try and make it more, make it lighter again. When Superman or Clark Kent gets beaten up in the diner, he gets beaten up, right? And there's no joke in between to lighten up the mood. And then he sees Zod and he realizes, holy shit, what have I done, right? That's all like a dramatic thing. So it doesn't have like that a lot of forced humor at all in it. It's not like, oh, we need like a little joke in here to make. But when it is trying to be funny, it's fucking hilarious, you
Yeah,
know?
it's
Like,
super funny. Yeah.
so yeah, that was my piece on that. If you, unless you've got anything else to say, I wanted to play this song.
Yeah, let's
Like,
play. Yeah, play the clip.
so I don't know why. Maybe you won't find it as funny as I do, but I always find this funny. It's just the perfect encapsulation of why I love the character. Okay, it's all set up.
She's from a galaxy far away. She's not here to save anyone's day. All fight for the American way. She's here to conquer, rule, kill and maim. She was a prisoner of the Phantom Zone. Residing on, she was not alone. Prevent the terrorists and get Harry. A big explosion came and set her free. She decided that she wanted to rule. She killed an astronaut on the moon. Ursa. Shit kicking, ass kicking, queen of the universe. Her name won't make Roman Gower. Ursa. Shit kicking, ass kicking, queen of the universe. Her name won't make Roman Gower.
So that's
That's great.
basically. It's
That's
so
great.
funny to me, that fucking tune. It's true. That's exactly who she is.
She's-
But yeah. But Ursa, yeah, she's just got the great lines as well. There's other, I mean, we should talk a little bit about Lois Lane, I guess. Not I guess, because she's really fantastic in the movies,
Right.
but so we should talk a bit about Lois Lane. Is there anyone else? And Perry, I love as well. Perry, he's got his little moments in there, but they're all great. But what did you make of the
Lois?
song and Lois?
Yeah, the song. Well, the song's great. I'll listen to the full thing.
Yeah.
Afterwards. But I like Lois. You know, she's doing what she does. She goes out and gets the story, and you know, I love when they're talking about a good reporter doesn't get good stories. A good reporter makes them great, and then they Perry White and her say it at the same time as the door opens. And that's a great like explanation of Lois. It's like she'll take a story, she'll make it great, and she's gonna get to the truth, and she doesn't mind putting herself in harm's way, like in the Paris thing, you know, in the Eiffel Tower and all that. It's like she is, and it's never played up as though, oh, she's, you know, trying to like she's not as good because she's a woman or something weird like that. There's none of that. She's just a damn awesome reporter. Period. It's they're not trying to. Right. Yeah, they're not virtue signaling. They're just like, look, she's an awesome reporter. She's the best. She's better than Clark. She's better than everybody else in that office.
And
she gets the good stories.
I love that they state that she's better than Clark. You know, she is the great, you know, Lois Lane, like from the comics, right? Like the always the ultra intrepid, you know, like always has a nose for the story. So yeah, you're right about that. And I think Margot Kidder. I've got to
You
stop
love
doing
Margot
that.
Robbie.
I don't even like Margot Robbie that much, but I like Margot Kidder way. I like Margot Kidder way more than Margot Robbie. But yeah, like she's just awesome in the movie, and I like the fact that they didn't go with some really. She's a good-looking woman, but like some really like fantasy babe kind of, you know, and it kind of made, you know, that relationship more touching. Like, this is real love. Like, these people really dig each other. It's not just a looks thing or something like that. They actually genuinely have affection for each other, and she pulls off all of those emotional scenes, even some of the more campy, cheesier scenes with them flying in the air. Like, if it was in any other actress's hands, it would have been just unwatchable. But with her, she makes it watchable and believable that she's really loves this guy. So I wanted to wrap up. Hey, Widow. I wanted to wrap up, like, just talking about like the two films, because, you know, if there's like anything we've missed, specifically talk about the Superman 1 and 2.
Well, I've got two things. One thing you just made me think of something, and I've thought of this from before when you're talking about Margot Kidder and like her appearance. When she's going out to dinner or whatever, then she looks really nice. But when she's at the office, she's like a reporter. This is one of the things that irks me. Like if you watch like Supergirl or something on CW, everyone always looks super pretty with tight skirts and high heels and perfect makeup all the time. It's like, when are you reporting? Like you need to be running around and getting the story, and that's what Lois Lane, that's what Margot Kidder is. Like when she goes on a dinner date, like in Superman 4, she goes on a date and she's all prettied up and dolled up. It's like, okay. But now in the office, like in the office, she's just regular Lois. It's like, and that was perfect. You made me think of that because that always irked me in Supergirl. It's like you got mini skirts and high heels. Like, when are you going to report?
And you want to talk about like campy. She wasn't campy in the movie at all. She was always very serious and very, like she was a real character to contrast with Superman, who's like, where Chris Reeves is playing the character almost taken from the comic, right? Like saying the lines like "good vibrations," right? Like like the character from the comic, and she grounds that character. By her contrast with him. Like most of the scenes with her are not played for comedy at all. They're like played for like the serious kind of relationship between the two of them. So I think she was really, really important to, as I said, grounding the material, especially in Superman 1, right? Where like Lex is a bit like, he's way comic booky, right? And then Superman's like comic booky, Perry is, all of the rest of them. And she's like grounding it in the kind of reality like that, as the director says, again, I've forgotten his name, Donna, as Donna says, like when he was making this film, it's about verisimilitude. And I think she was verisimilitude, pardon me. I think she was the reality at the center of this movie. The heart at the center of the movie was her performance, grounding this in the 70s, right? He's there going, I'm here to fight for truth, justice, and the American way. And she's like, you're going to be fighting every elected official. So it grounds it back in the time that it was in. Like, this is the 70s. This is during the Vietnam War. This is during a time where people are like not as big on like their politicians. Like trust is waning. It's not like the JFK days where people, it was this president that everyone could get behind and everyone loved, right? It's this new time where people are, it's a more, there's corruption, there's suspicion, there's cynicism, and she was all of that in this movie, whereas Superman was the earnestness. Well, I mean, that's most of what I wanted to say about the movie. Again, I'm not here to kind of convince anybody to like the movie. This is just why I love it. And showing it from my view and how I kind of came to it. So that's what this series is about. As I said, like, it's never me trying to convince you. If you don't like the movie, it's fine. If you love Man of Steel, I get it, so no worries, completely keep on enjoying this movie, enjoying the movies you love. But this is why I love Superman 1 and 2. It will always be for me up there. It's not quite my favorite origin movie of all time, but it's pretty much the second one. And the one that is my favorite origin movie of all time just does this, but it gets it exactly.
A bit better.
Yeah, exactly. It takes all of those elements and like, it's actually Batman Begins is for me the best. This is the second, right? This is number 2. But it's just like Batman Begins doesn't have Batman spinning around the world and like,
that was the only weird part. But I love Superman 2, Superman Part 1 and 2. If you count I just count the whole series as one kind of thing. It's in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. But like Superman 2 has my favorite scene in any film, period, which is the very end of the hand crushing, because you just had this big battle. Superman looks around and he's like, holy crap. Like we're destroying the city. He's like, I gotta get it. We gotta get this out of here. And so he flies away, and then they go after him. And he's like, I love the, would you care to step outside? I love that line. But like they fly away, and then he goes to the fortress and he sets up stuff. So when they get there, he's got little traps for them, and he reverses the red rays of the Kryptonian sun. So he sets all this up, and then they come in and he's playing with them, and then they're just like, look, we're just gonna kill Lois, right? Because we're done playing your games. And then he's like, all right, fine. And then he confides in Luthor, knowing that Luthor's gonna betray him. Reverses the thing, and he comes out and he still plays up to it, which I think is so great dramatically in a film too, because he's like there and he's there, and you could tell something was different as an audience. You're like, this was not the same. This didn't look the same as it did earlier. And he crushes his hand and he throws them, and he's like, I knew you'd double cross me, Luthor, a slimy weasel like you couldn't resist a chance. He's like, what? I was with you the whole time,
Yeah.
And he's like, no.
And we should talk about before we leave, because everyone, Snyder fans are always using this as a moment to say that Superman killed Zod. Superman does not kill Zod in that scene. Like, if people don't know that. I'm not going to fight it. Like, I almost want to find it officially on this stream, but you're right. That first of all, that's one of the reasons that this is a great Superman movie, Superman 2, as opposed to Superman 1, because it does that thing that I think is so great in superhero movies when they get this right, which is like, and for some reason it's a rarity nowadays. Like films like Shazam did it. I guess Batman Begins did it as well. But it's the superhero not just punching their way. They're faced with an impossible monster or villain, an impossible scenario, and they have to work like an intelligently written way that's consistent with the story that we've seen before, that is set up well in the movie prior, to figure out how to take out the indestructible, villain that they have to face, and he does it perfectly in this movie. And then, of course, I just wanted to end by saying, he doesn't kill Zod. You see, there's a version or a scene out there, like from the Australian. That was playing in Australia at the time, but like you can see that the director's vision was that they obviously fall into like some kind of snow pit, or I don't know what it is, and he does not kill them. So the idea was, again, Superman doesn't kill in all of these Chris Reeves movies. I just wanted to add that. But again, what a fucking ending, and as a kid, you're like, I remember watching that going, oh no, well, Superman's lost his powers because that's what happened. And then you're like, he fucking got him. And that chemistry between, because again, I think Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor is at his best when he's interacting with this, either another villain or Chris Reeves. All of his banter with Chris Reeves in the first movie is like the best. Is this how a sick mind like you gets his kicks? Like all of those lines by him is great.
Those are all great.
Yeah, but here his interaction again with Chris Reeves is fucking brilliant at the end. So that I mean, there's nothing more to say. It was a perfect ending to the film that I think is lost so much. Like I watch movies these days, it's like, oh, he's got an impossible villain to face, right? Like he's impossible to defeat. Oh, I'm just gonna snap his neck. Oh, well, that's convenient, right? What
Snap
an anticlimax. Yeah, like
go around and kill them all. Like kill Feora, kill Nod, like kill all of them. What are you going to do with the rest of it? Like they keep saying, oh, Zod made it so that you had to do it. Well, put your hand over his eyes. Oh, he'll burn his hand. Yeah, but Superman will take a burn shot versus letting someone die. Like, I don't know. It just seems weird.
Or, alternatively, don't make Zod and an army of Kryptonians, the first villains in your Superman movie, so that you don't have to do shit like that. You know, like you make it Brainiac. He can punch through some robots or something. You know,
Right.
it's not a documentary. That's
Yeah.
what people need to understand. It's like and you could have said the same thing about Superman 2. Superman 2, he could have just killed Zod, and everyone would have been saying, well, you know, he couldn't have done anything else. What was he supposed to do? Well, they came up with a smart way for him to defeat Zod without having to murder him. That's what a good writer can think of and can do. And it's the same thing. You get the same thing with Shazam. I'm trying to think of modern movies that do this, because there's
I got
many.
one. Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, he just bored Dormammu to give up. He kept repeating time and time. He's like, we're just going to repeat this forever. And then Dormammu was like, all right, fine. I'm just done. I like that.
Exactly. So it's stuff like that it's good writing. But yes, that was the bonanza kind of like me. Finally, I don't think I've ever talked about this movie with somebody else who. Well, I've talked about it with friends who love it, but like certainly not for preservation on YouTube, like for people to see. But yeah, it was great talking to you. I want to talk to you because I didn't get around to talking to you about your favorite Superman comics. So I hope we can do another one of these where we talk about our favorite Superman comics. We might have a bit of disagreement because I like a little bit of the darker stuff with Superman. But I don't know. Maybe we'll have exactly the same taste in Superman comics. But thank you so much, J-Man. Please, I'm sure most of the people watching now already subscribe to J-Man. But if you're not, please, and anyone who comes to this video in future, subscribe to J-Man. He has a great channel, talks about like comics, comic book movies, and he's just got a vast amount of knowledge. And look at the background. This guy knows his stuff and loves these characters. So yeah, and apart from that, please do like, subscribe, comment. I love the comments. Let's continue the conversation. Do you like Man of Steel more than Superman 1 and 2? What's your opinion on it? I didn't. Oh Jesus! I should have done this. This is one thing I usually do before I leave, which is, you know what? I'm gonna look through these, and once they come up, and I'm gonna write some answers to the comments that I've liked in the live stream, just because J-Man has to get going. So I'm going to write some comments back to some of these, because I saw some interesting comments here in the live stream. So apart from that, yeah, do like, do me a favor, give me a high five, smash that like button, comment. I will respond to most of the comments. At least I'll try my best. And yeah, we've subscribe to J-Man. And apart from that, I'll see you on the flip side, and I love you 3000. Peace.